Okay. So this is this is this is it. The hangout on the air is alive.
Is it though?
Yeah. It is. Okay, I put my phone on silent because I don't want
Yeah, that's a good idea.
to be
I will do the
interrupted.
same.
And if somebody tries to text me, that's too bad.
I'll get back to you later.
Yeah, watch the podcast and I'll answer your query on the podcast. And if it's like something private, I'll answer it publicly, and everybody can know what the issue is.
I'll punch this cat.
Punch it off your lap. It kind of worked. It propelled it slightly.
Oh man.
So you know it's good.
Punch out?
Yeah, Punch Out's really good.
That's why I said that.
You said the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's the wrong thing. Like somebody would say, Home Alone on NES. That's the wrong thing.
Well, it depends on good in what degree. Like, it's high ranked on the worst games.
It's also, it did get released. Some games never got released. So I guess it has like a foot up above other things. Canceled projects.
Things
So-
that were better than it that did not get
Did not get released. Yeah, exactly. So Radon and I were actually talking about doing like a couple different things with the podcast, and we wanted to do sort of like a more sort of structured. Well, nobody's actually watching just yet, which is fine because I just posted the link to all the folks of America,
All 350 of them.
all 350 American people.
The rest are all commies.
So I don't. Yeah, this podcast actually, if you're a communist, you can't watch this. I mean, you can try, but it just won't show up, and there's no volume.
It's just a focus color pattern,
Yeah, basically.
even though they don't really use that on the internet.
No, they don't.
We'll go find one.
Yeah,
Put it in
and
there
we'll post-
somehow.
Well, it's already
Yeah, like the Indian. and
it's
then
preloaded. Yeah. So if you're a communist, it's weird because I'm in a way I'm actually somewhat communist. I share a lot of stuff.
Well, you share a lot of views of a lot of different views, though.
That's also true. So yeah, there's bits and pieces of my overall philosophy that
You're
sort
like politically agnostic, if there's a word for that. You're like, you
People
don't
call it
really
fence-
go with anything.
That's
You're
true.
just like,
yeah.
I kind of like little bits of everything, but I'm not really.
I can't be radical on any side.
Yeah.
That's really hard for me because I don't believe in like absolutes other than like absolute zero.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I have cat hair on my nose, so I keep doing my Coke nose thing like every.
By
2
the
seconds.
way,
It's driving me crazy.
So the communists can't watch this. Communist proper, like Stalin, they can't watch this.
Well, I mean, just out of recognition for his position, we probably let him watch it.
I would let him if he wanted to. If he like requested like a VIP like
Maybe I am does.
alternate camera angle access or something.
The world dictator angle.
Right, exactly. Exclusive behind the scenes look at the podcast while it's being filmed live. So I'd let him do it.
There is no behind the scenes. This is the behind the scenes.
Well, I mean, it'd be like a camera angle that's like it's more raw. It displays like a higher frame rate, so it feels more like, like raw footage, like B-roll.
More raw than that quality.
more raw than poorly lit. Yeah, pseudo 720. Yeah, yeah. But no, one thing that we were discussing with the podcast, we wanted to try a couple new angles, and so we wanted to get into sort of a structure for the whole thing. And some people are gonna see this probably not this week since they don't have it immediately set up. And I figured since it's gonna be you and I just hanging out locally and talking, we'd sort of just get back into the swing of discussion. But there's going to be a segment where, so we'll go over, like the news and, catch up on what games we're playing and what kind of stuff is coming out. And more of like a general podcast information proper. The second half, we actually wanted to do some gameplay clips where like Radon would play a game for like 10 minutes and he'd be like, hey, John, here's a game I wanted to show you and our viewers, check it out. And then we'd discuss it for a little bit. Then I would show a game for like 10 minutes. We'd discuss it and just sort of, get like a bigger scope of things going on. And then of course in the second half as well too, we would do some we'd answer viewer questions or reader questions, and we could engage with any of like the live chat kind of stuff going on while the podcast is running. So, should I throw something on the background, like turn the play choice on or something?
Yeah, it's a little dead back there.
All right. And the cats aren't going to be consistently on the couch, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm also going to turn this light on.
We have one viewer, which I'm assuming is us.
No, I'm not actually on the page, so it shouldn't be us.
What? Up 0 viewers. I'm sorry.
No, I think it's going like in and out. I'm also not sure. The volume should be working. I'm not positive it's working.
Need Jobo or somebody to watch.
Let's see.
Did you post on both the retro community and GA page?
I didn't post on the GA page. It's gonna get like 10 people.
Still?
Yeah.
Might as well.
Yeah. If anybody's watching right now, just to make sure, can you hear? We have like the chat thing enabled. Or if you have like my personal number, go ahead and text me and say hey, the volume is working, because I want to make sure. I just want to test and verify that the volume settings are proper. I'm going to check our recording devices and see, because this thing is set to the snowball, but I can't tell volume wise if everything's working or not, and that's what I want. I want to whistle at my microphone like it's a dog. But, well, okay, I don't know. I assume it should be picking it up decently well. The snowball usually does, but I can't tell. So, if you're watching, somebody indicate that you can hear me. I could always go in the other room and check real quick. I'm going to do that.
I'll wait here and be really boring on camera.
Keep talking. Let's take like 2 seconds.
I have nothing to talk about, John.
Just talk about anything. Just read something on your phone out loud.
I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to fail you. Plus, my phone's not loading anything, so that doesn't really help. Okay.
I'm just going to keep saying random things so we know if John can actually hear me. Don't actually have anything interesting to say. For anyone who is watching this, I apologize for this incredibly boring segment of podcasting. I can just hear John laughing in the other room.
You're just sitting here mumbling quietly.
That's what I do, man.
Okay. All right. So, welcome everybody to the Cyber Zone. It's me, John, and this is Michael Graham. Once again, Michael Radon is off for the evening, taking care of some stuff, so we're going to be your hosts for the night.
In the other Michael.
Yeah, I did a Michael swap. It's like a wife swap, except your name has to be Michael.
It's weird, dude.
That's not too weird.
It's a little weird.
I never slept with other Michael. I haven't slept with you either, but...
No, you slept with none of the Michaels.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
I have not slept with a single...
Based on what I know for Michaels, I can guarantee that you slept with none of them.
Well, what? Okay, hold on.
Mm-hmm.
This is where it gets tricky. How many Michaels do you know that I know? Because what if I slept with a dude named Michael or a girl named Michael? I don't know if I know any girls named Michael, but I haven't. Okay, that's fair.
Well, just the ones that we both have in common would be
Perez,
which that's a maybe.
But he has a mustache.
Mm-hmm.
That's our bond.
He's a pretty affectionate dude in
He
general.
is.
So
He hugs me. I hug him, give him high fives.
Mhm.
He kissed me when he was drunk.
True. And he might not say no to you just because he doesn't want to be rude.
That's fair.
So there's that.
That's fair. Okay.
But then
Well,
there's De La O.
well, he's one of my employees, and that's illegal.
Yeah, so.
So that's not gonna obviously. Well, he was one of my. He's no longer with the company.
Mhm.
Not like under bad terms though. Not because I slept with him.
you
So-
fired.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
fired him because he wouldn't sleep with you.
Or because he did sleep with me. You're not supposed to do
Either
that.
way, it's not good.
That's entrapment.
Mhm.
This is too much power for me. I don't want that.
Yeah.
I feel like Rufio.
When he was having a discussion about which of the Lost Boys wouldn't have sex with him.
Well, like, so Rufio doesn't actually have sex with them. They just sleep together, like in the same bed, like they spoon.
Rufio's a teenager though. Like the rest of them are all like
And I have like 8.
8 to like 13.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
I
Yeah,
put it at that.
Okay.
Rufio's like actually like 16-ish.
Yeah, yeah,
I bet like at youngest he's 16.
that's true. That, yeah, 16 to 18,
Yeah.
or
He's
maybe
in
all
that
3.
range.
Maybe he's all 3. Because I mean, since the Never
They
Boys
do live
or
in
whatever-
Magic Town. or
Yeah,
whatever
they
it's
could
called.
span several ages.
Hmm.
They're essentially like wizards or Highlanders.
Highlanders come from Neverland.
Yeah, they're baby
No,
Highlanders.
because they killed Rufio by stabbing him in the chest. They didn't cut his head off.
So how do we know he's actually dead? He's just not like unconscious from being stabbed.
Yeah, they never really do go back to him, do they? They
Yeah,
just
they
kind of
just-
leave him laying on that boat.
Yeah, just assume that he dies. Because if you're supposed to, like, you don't age in Neverland, right? So here's
Correct.
my question: was he brought there when he was like 16 to 18?
You kind of would assume he had to have been.
Right? Because like he didn't grow into that at Neverland. He became somewhere else, and then somebody dropped off a 16-year-old kid
At Neverland, yeah.
at Neverland. Okay.
Well, I mean, how old was Peter Pan supposed to be?
Neverland, and he was a baby, and they show that.
And then he still grows, though.
Something's wrong.
So do you just age to the point? In power rankings. No, I guess it's just total wins and losses. That's funny.
Sorry, everybody. We had a technical difficulty. My Wi-Fi went out. It does that on this computer all the time, so I just hardwired us in, which doesn't really mean anything because my router actually really sucks. So,
Not because we have 2 viewers.
we had 3.
Did we lose them with the Peter Pan talk?
I think that was actually the most engaging thing so far. Okay. So, emotional damages, J.M. Barrie dead,
Dead.
but I'm suing the estate.
Probably all also dead.
All of them?
Mm.
All known relatives.
Yeah.
Whoever currently owns the rights to the book.
Warner Brothers? No. Who did Hook? Disney?
Probably 20th Century Fox. I feel if it's a Spielberg film,
It's probably Fox, yeah.
yeah.
So you're gonna sue Fox?
I'm gonna sue Fox. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. We have a question. It's actually weird because I'm already destroying the structure of this thing if we answer the question right now. So we're gonna answer the question in a little bit here, but it's a very good question. So okay. So since we haven't been on the air in quite some time, I figured there's a whole lot of stuff to catch up on. PlayStation Network, was hacked a couple weeks ago. Windows 10 just launched today. Satoru Iwata passed a couple weeks ago. The Evo Championships were a couple weeks ago as well, too, a week after Iwata. There's been a bunch of stuff that's been going down. Nintendo just made a big announcement about their new Smash content coming up, so we can sort of discuss like a whole slew of things. And if there's anything that
There's general rumors about the NX.
NX. Yeah.
The
As a
whole
matter of
Dragon
fact,
Quest thing.
here's have you seen anything on Dragon Quest?
I have not, and I've never played any of the Dragon Quest games.
Okay.
by the way.
So I'm going to actually tell you about something right now that they're doing, and this excites me tremendously because in my mind, I feel like there was an idea that came up like this before. I don't think I saw anything on a PS4 version other than like a screenshot, which looked really, really super duper sharp.
Mhm.
And to anybody who doesn't know, Dragon Quest is a Japanese RPG, very traditional RPG. It's very by the numbers, very by the books, but it's so definitive that like nothing really comes close, even when a Dragon Quest game comes out, in terms of just it's a colorful classic. You buy your sword, you go to the inn, you kill some monsters, and you keep going RPG. Like it's so by the numbers, but it doesn't deviate from that, and it's kind of classic in that regard. It's kind of like a Super Mario Brothers game is just a Super Mario Brothers game, and
so it doesn't have the whole Final Fantasy issue where like this game, straight by the numbers type RPG, and then the next one they institute this different system, and the next one they're in a different fighting/magic system.
So there's a little bit of variation, but it's way more like.
Well, I mean, like from what I understand, the
Yeah.
magic system going from like 7 to 8 in Final Fantasy
Tremendously different.
was so different that it
Yeah.
threw off a lot of people.
Yeah, well, 6 to 7 and 7 to 8 and 8 to 9. Like, I mean, they all 9 to 10. All the Final Fantasies really, they're sort of all over the spectrum.
Mhm.
But Dragon Quest it's very. They really don't break from it too often. Like everything is pretty much, you get spells, you get your sword, and like you kill things. 9 was on the DS, and it was kind of a cool deviation, only because you get your first normal party member, the story party member, then you go to this inn, first city in the game, and you just recruit 3 other people, and you just choose what class they are. They're just whatever you want. They're not story consequential, but you just pick them and name them, and you're an archer, you're a mage, you're a fighter. Give them their weapons, and then you train them, and you can bring them back and change their vocation, so you can turn them all into archers if you wanted to, or bring them all back and turn them all into wizards or whatever it is you want. But that was sort of like the biggest deviation. Some of them had like things we could train monsters, but as a whole, they all feel a lot more similar than the Final Fantasy does. Final Fantasy is very spread out. But for Dragon Quest IX, something that they did, and I love this so stupidly much. It takes like this gameplay element where the bottom screen is 2D classic like 16-bit style RPG, and the top screen is the exact same game except in 3D. So it's like seeing a Super Nintendo version of the game and then like a PlayStation 2 version of the game, the exact same game. And there's something super amazing about that like it makes me feel excited, like youthful. And I like, if there's anything that ever like pulls out the element of like youth in me, it's striking the right kind of nerve, because the sense of discovery and wonder and like what's next and feeling like that's the captivation for my tastes.
See? Sales pitch. Now I have to play that game.
Now you gotta play it.
You're a dick.
And Dragon Quest VIII is being released on the 3DS. They announced it for Japan. They more or less announced it for the West because they announced the French localization. That was on the PlayStation 2 originally.
That's what I was about to ask.
Totally worth playing.
'Cause I think I had that one and I started it, and then someone stole my memory card.
That's
something,
frustrating.
I never got.
Yeah.
Like, for any viewers who ever end up following this podcast or whatever,
Yeah.
I have not gotten to play the majority of the PlayStation and PlayStation 2 library because every game I ever got stolen from me.
Mm-mm.
So
Mm-mm.
I made it most of the way through the first disc on Final Fantasy VII. I've made it a good chunk of the first disc through Final Fantasy IX, and then like a couple hours into like Legend of Dragoon and stuff like that.
So it's nice now with the Vita, you can just grab
Yeah,
all
I
that
have
stuff
like all these games
and
on
boom,
my Vita now,
right there. That's
except for any of the Dragon Quests. I don't have
Okay.
any of those.
I don't know if they released any of those in the PlayStation Network store.
They did that big Final Fantasy sale, and
Oh,
I picked
yeah.
up a bunch of stuff there.
Yeah, those are really, really good. So yeah, that was something big that just got announced recently, and it looks good, man. It looks sharp. I'm really, really pumped. Just it's kind of nice. But they also they said PS4 and they're saying Nintendo NX.
Mhm.
So we of course don't know the fundamentals of what the NX is. It's just
Well, there's a ton of theories that it's going to be a
Right.
weird handheld home console hybrid thing.
Yeah, like if the Wii U gamepad was portable, maybe you could like store data on it and you could take it with you on the go and then come back and reconnect. I don't know.
Which, like, that's kind of a double-edged sword of a product too. 'Cause
Right.
it's like your kid breaks your 2DS, their 3DS or whatever.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, that sucks. Your kid breaks your Xbox One or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like,
That's a lot worse, higher stakes. No, absolutely. So yeah, I'm excited. I guess Nintendo will announce more about that next year at E3, or maybe in like a direct they'll drop some hints or something. But
maybe.
I wouldn't foresee it until an actual like major worldwide announcement where all the shareholders are like pulling off their panties and getting ready for the big one.
The big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, since everyone's been like, "Oh, Nintendo's going out of business."
Yeah,
or
it's
whatever
very dramatic, and they just have billions of dollars in assets,
which they've been saying since like 1992.
Yeah, they're like, don't forget that we have a Pokemon.
Yeah,
we're fine.
we got this.
We're infinitely fine. Yeah. So
Nintendo's got an unlimited list of things they can just pull out of their ass and be like, "Hey, give us some money."
Yeah. Well, people
It
will
doesn't
call
even
them.
have to be good. People would just buy it.
It's funny too because people will call them sellouts if they did that, but like that's all people actually want. And if because Nintendo doesn't release, then people get pissed that Nintendo's not doing that.
But if they do, then they're like, pandering.
Yeah, that's funny.
People are dumb.
So there was also the passing of Iwata a couple weeks ago, which, dude, like it hit hard.
It hit you really, really hard,
dude. Because I didn't expect it. I talked with a couple friends about this, but what was crazy about the whole thing was when it was announced. A buddy of mine actually texted me. And I didn't believe it for a second because I hadn't seen it on any of the websites.
Mhm.
And then I refreshed, Go Nintendo like a minute later, and suddenly it was like, oh, wait, really? No, like this can't be real. And the more like I let it sort of sink in, I kept thinking, if this is hard enough for me, what's like when Miyamoto passes, and that's obviously going to be supremely difficult. But thinking about Iwata's influence on Nintendo, he's transformed Nintendo into something so unique and so visionary. And while Miyamoto is sort of like the background operator making the games, he's not the presence, he's not the face. People know him by name because of all the games he's made, but Iwata's style, you don't see Kaz Hirai at Sony jumping up on stage and like doing things that Iwata did. You don't see Nintendo Directs or anything akin to that from Microsoft. They had such a unique style, and him being that kind of like face, that's gone, like, and no one is going to have that presence any longer.
We discussed that before. Like, I, as the guy who doesn't know a super ton about video games, I don't even know the name of the Sony guy or the guy who's in charge of like the Xbox One or any of that crap. I don't know them. I actually knew who Iwata was.
Yeah, they don't push
to a
themselves
lesser
as
extent,
much.
who like Reggie is,
Sure,
and all that stuff.
Yeah,
but it's like any of those other guys,
mm-hmm.
it's all just nameless people where the systems and titles are just changing hands,
right?
And no one cares,
right? Yeah. Oh,
all
it's
we
Phil
know
Spencer
is
now. Oh,
screw that Sony guy because he won't let us do this thing, or whatever.
Yeah. It sort of shifts around too much to be identifiable, but
which is almost worse.
Yeah.
For like certain, like Nintendo screwed something up or whatever, you'd be like, freaking Iwata's doing this or whatever.
Right.
But like with Sony, when they do something weird, it's just fucking Sony.
Right. Yeah.
Just
exactly.
all of Sony.
Just corporate entity monster.
Yeah. Whereas like there's no one guy they can pin anything on, which I guess might be why they don't do that. But it's like also if we knew who was making those decisions, we'd know who to aim things at.
Yeah.
Instead, we're just like, Sony sucks.
Yeah. Yeah,
Screw Sony.
I know.
They let the Vita die.
You guys, they really did. They pretty much all but
They
announced it.
murdered
like
it. They didn't just let it die. They
That's true.
murdered
They
it.
didn't place it down gently in like the stream of water, like Eris or whatever.
They're
Like,
just
they were actually the Sephiroth sword that just that shot it. Yeah,
Mhm.
they had a gun that shot giant Masamunes.
They old yellered the Vita for no freaking reason.
No. It's like committing to like a big project like in high school or
Vita.
whatever, and then thinking this is just way too much. I'll just get an F. And they're like, all right.
That's even worse because it's like committing to that big project and then finishing it,
Yeah.
and then everyone like showing a few people and they're like, "This is really cool," and then you go, "Nah, never mind."
Yeah. It's very
There's
frustrating.
like it's done. It's there. There's people who want to buy it. You just have to sell it to them,
Yeah.
and you won't.
Yeah.
For no reason other than you shot your mouth off at like Nintendo about having 2 screens.
Yeah, basically. Yep. What's funny about the Vita as well too is it seems like it was the exact same mistake that the PSP made, where the DS comparatively, we're not as powerful. Okay, well, we're Sony, so hey, guess what, guys? Power's where it's at, right? You guys want power? And they made this beautiful handheld system, and the screen was big,
amazing,
and it was gorgeous, and it like it had the shoulder buttons, and it had the face, and you could watch movies, and you could play music on, which admittedly I don't think anybody truly cared about, as seen by the prices of UMDs. But it was just a powerful machine.
Yeah.
Guess what? It didn't have Mario, Pokemon, and Zelda games,
or any of the actual like Sony titles that anyone cared about.
I liked my PSP a lot. I really thought it was a nice little system. But the majority of games I owned were just Street Fighter Alpha 3, which is on original PlayStation, Darkstalkers, which is on original PlayStation, the Capcom Collection, which is just all over other systems. Everything I owned for that machine was just re-releases of stuff that I liked somewhere else.
Yeah, they didn't make anything unique for it that anyone cared about. Like, I think the first game I bought for the PSP was Medieval.
Yeah.
Which is a PlayStation game.
Right.
It's just across the board. No one bought the PSP.
Yeah.
For the PSP. No one cared.
Right.
Plus that awful loading noise when it was reading the data.
Yeah, it sounded like it was grinding. Yeah.
And then they made everything about it proprietary.
Yep. Oh, the memory cards and
everything about it was proprietary, which everyone screamed at Sony about.
Yep, nobody liked
what
that.
are you doing?
Yeah.
They're like, don't worry, we're listening to you.
Yeah.
Guess what?
Yep.
Everything's proprietary on the Vita.
Exactly. Yeah.
Every last little thing.
The memory cards, the game, everything.
Oh, not only that, but we're going to charge 2 to 3 times what a normally memory card like this would cost.
Oh my god. Yeah. Yeah.
$100?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
For what, 64 gigs or whatever?
I think it was like when it first came out, like a 16 gig might have been around like $80 or something, because it was ludicrously priced at first. They dropped eventually, but it was still way too much.
Sony.
Yeah.
You already have SD and micro SD cards.
Yeah.
You already make those.
Yeah.
People buy them because they're good quality.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, it was insane.
People already will go buy a Sony SD card.
You know what's nice about SD cards? Is like 8 other systems that I have in my house can use it. My computer, my Wii, my Wii U, my PS3, my 3DS. But instead I need my pinky thumbnail size memory card to save anything.
It's the exact same memory card. They just put an extra piece of plastic on it. So
and it sucks because again, Vita, bigger and better and more powerful, and the screen beyond gorgeous. It just and even the touchpad on the back, admittedly, was kind of cool.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was neat.
Yeah, playing Uncharted, you're like, oh, I'm climbing the ladder because I'm rubbing the
Took some getting used
rope,
to, but everything's interesting.
and that's fine. But the problem was they were selling it based off of power. And what people finally realized was,
you don't care about power if there's nothing to power.
Right, exactly. Which is funny because it was like the opposite philosophy when the PS2 came out and the Xbox and GameCube just came out and were more powerful. People were like, oh no, PS2 because it has better games. Okay, there's your philosophy. The PS2 is succeeding because it has the games.
Yeah.
Not power. It's a powerful system, but
they panicked after the PS3.
Yeah,
that's what did it.
That's
they're
true.
like, here's the PS3, and it can play all those PS2 games and everything you love. And it's stupid expensive.
Yeah. Oh, that price.
And then no one bought it because they're like, that's stupid expensive.
That's $600.
And
Nothing
like,
else.
well, everyone must be buying the Xbox because it's more powerful. It's like, no,
it's cheaper.
It's cheaper. That's all it comes down to. I've said this 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Like, if the Wii U had a Blu-ray player in it, it would have dominated the market.
It would have
crushed
yeah,
everything because it was cheaper.
a cheap
It
Blu-ray
doesn't
player that played Nintendo
matter,
games. Yeah,
because the majority of parents and or grandparents
Mhm.
for who's actually buying these systems for
Yeah.
their kids don't read the power specs. They don't read any of that crap. They go,
no,
here's a cheap system with a bunch of kid-friendly games on
Yeah.
it. I'll buy that.
nobody bought the Wii because of power, so it didn't make sense. Everybody bought the Wii because of games, and everybody bought the Wii.
Everybody.
You know, what, 80 million or something insane?
Mhm.
Yeah, ludicrous. So for the Vita to be like, you know, hey, here's this awesome pet project that we're doing. Oh my God, check it out. It's going to have this game, and it's going to have PlayStation Battle Royale, and it's going to have, you know, just for the first 2 years, check this out. And then just, well, never mind.
Well, not only it was check this out, but it was the same thing of, hey, you know, you can play all those games you really like, and we're gonna make these new games, and it's stupid expensive.
And it's stupid expensive.
And then, well, there's
Yeah.
a lot of people who really like our Vita system. And you know what we should do with our handheld system? Let's plug it into the TV and make it so you can't take it anywhere.
Yeah.
The Vita TV was probably the worst idea anyone's ever had.
You can buy it for like $40 now. Like online.
I know. And like the stupid thing about that was, as I understand it, I'm sure if anyone watches this later or anything,
Mhm.
they'll correct me. But as I understand it, the main motivation behind the Vita TV was they were trying to use it as a workaround to sell it in China, because you can
Oh, 'cause
sell
the-
handhelds there, but you can't.
The console ban that they
sell
had going on.
consoles.
Sure.
Since it was technically a handheld system, even though it wasn't,
Mhm.
they were trying to use that as a workaround to sell it in China. And that didn't work because everyone's like, no, it's still a console.
No.
Just because you call it a Vita doesn't make it not a console.
And what you can stream to it, here's Larry. Larry came to visit. And you could, you know, play like your downloaded titles on it. So like that's an interesting.
But you could play all that shit on your PS3
No, I
or
know.
PS4.
Trust me.
Like-
well, that's the same reason Sony released the PSP Go. They're like some guy at Sony was like, "Sir, my PSP doesn't work." And they're like, "What happened?" Well, the disk drive started reading games. Let's market that.
Which, in a certain respect, is a genius idea.
Sure.
Had they run with it. But they didn't. They made the PSP Go, and then they were like,
Well, the best
and,
part
like,
about the
slid it
Go
to you under the table.
was that it
was
had
like
built-in memory, so like
Yeah.
you didn't have to go buy 16 gigs or 8 gigs or something. It was
a
was
decent amount of memory.
reasonable enough to like actually warrant
Especially for
checking
the
it out.
time.
Yeah,
Larry, I'm busy.
Larry, I'm busy.
Buddy.
No, it's but you know, just weird decisions. But it seems like now with the PS4, they've really figured out a lot from their missteps. And
Sorry. We're trying to talk, and I got distracted.
well, because there's a cat.
Yeah.
He's fluffy and he loves
punch
you.
him. Oh,
That's
he
cute.
headbutted my hand.
Headbutts Michael's fist as he punches him.
But I will never forgive Sony for the whole Vita thing, because I love my Vita.
Just a great little machine.
100%. Admittedly, I play Chrono Cross and Chrono Trigger and everything like that on it.
Mhm.
I don't really know of any Vita games that I play.
I have a lot of ports on my Vita, Rayman
Mhm.
and Metal Gear Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's a couple good ones. There were
I've
like
got the Jack and Dexter
there's
collection or whatever.
Gravity Crush.
Gravity Crush was solid, but I lost interest in it.
That's fair. There's a handful of other good ones. Tearaway, which
never
I
got
think
to play.
they're bringing to the PS4 now,
Mhm.
and I think I'd rather just play it on there because you know.
Yeah.
But there's a couple pretty
Well, the
solid
Vita was
games
also
for it.
originally supposed to plug into your TV.
Yeah.
That's why they got sued by, what was it? The Trade Commission or whatever it is. I can't think of what it's called. But Sony got
FCC?
sued because they advertised so much. Yeah, the Federal Trade Commission, I think it is. But Sony advertised all these features that were going to be in the Vita, and they didn't deliver on any of them.
Yeah.
So they had to refund money back
And just
to
class
people who
actions
bought
everywhere.
the original Vita.
Well, this is class actions. Jamberry,
Mhm.
Sony. That's what I'm saying.
So you want us? Well, they already sued Sony
Jamberry's next.
for what?
Emotional damage.
Of what?
Because I don't understand Peter Pan growth rate.
The counter argument to that is going to be that it's forcing you to think, and that's what a good book is supposed to do.
But it shouldn't contradict the idea where kids don't grow. Okay, all right. He's on discipline. So maybe the Lost Boys every now and then will take like a year-long pilgrimage to like non-Neverland islands to grow gradually and then come back.
Like, where the hell would that? I guess wherever the hell Captain Hook came from.
Right, yeah, because there's still adults over there, right? So they have to
There
go
are adults, and Captain Hook doesn't age either, as far as we
now
know.
that they're on Never Never Land, they don't age. But at some point, they had to have gone somewhere to become older.
And he can go back and forth between the real world and Neverland. So
Yeah.
I guess.
Just shakes Tinkerbell's ass all over his ship and then just flies to London and then, scratches Peter Pan's walls all up.
Yeah, like a dick.
Yeah.
That's expensive.
What's crazy, one of my favorite parts is that, like, he scratched through, like, a picture frame and broke the
Mhm.
glass. Like,
Yeah, it's a really cool shot.
yeah.
That whole thing.
It's pretty great.
Point is, viewers, that Hook is a great movie.
It's a great movie. You know who's a great person? Captain Hook. He has
me.
and Smee. Captain Hook has the same initials as me. This is what I like. JAS Hook. But Smee by Bob Hoskins
He's the best.
is arguably the best.
No one
role.
could ever do that better.
No, he's the perfect Smee. So Smee things aside, what else is there? Oh, Five Nights at Freddy's 4 just got
I
released.
haven't played any of the Five Nights.
I'm gonna
I've
tell-
seen most of one.
I'm gonna tell you something, because Pat and I actually sat down and we watched like video game, the game theory guy go through the stories of 1, 2, and 3, and he hasn't done 4 yet because 4 just came out, so he probably still has to figure all that out. But the thing is, I don't like playing that game. Not because it scares me, I just don't think it's fun at all. It's not my kind of game.
Well, just
It's,
watching the clock.
Door
game.
management is
Yeah.
not a game to me, but I respect that the guy has made something that has intrigued people so much. Scott Cawthorn, something like that.
I wouldn't be able to tell you.
Something like that. But he's made something that it's simplistic in presentation. It probably didn't take like a ton to develop. I mean, not like discounting his efforts, but in terms of like, big budget, it's all this guy, it's all this one dude. But he puts something together that is, negatively and positively talked about, and that's the sign of a good product, as far as I see it, is that he puts something that gets both sides of the spectrum constantly going. I mean, the bad side is people, discount his efforts by saying, well, there's hardly even a game. Why would you pay $7 for this crap? And like it has like 5 screens and like it doesn't look good or whatever. And it's like, that's not the point. You're missing the point.
Creeps people out.
It creeps people out. It presents something that people get excited about. And so, like, while I don't want to play the games, I want to know the story, because the more you get into it, the nastier it gets and like the creepier it gets. And it's actually really well put together.
Yeah.
And I respect that tremendously.
Which I know they probably covered this in game theory video or whatever.
Mhm.
In the first game,
Yeah.
when spoiler alert,
Spoilers.
anyone who's
Okay.
going to,
Okay.
when after a few days, you're getting the messages from the guy who like trained you or whatever and got you the job, and then one day it's just a bunch of like, garbling and like kind of demon voices or whatever, and then when you like look back in the room, there's just like, it's like a bear suit, but there's like, it's kind of got like a security guard hat on it. And
Yeah.
there's like blood coming out of it.
Yep.
Are we assuming that that's what happened to the guy who was like training you?
Well, I'm just going to suggest watching the game theory video, because since I played the game for like 10 minutes, was like, whatever, I don't care. But after watching the videos, they explain a lot of that, and it makes so much sense, because number one is the game is presented in such a way that there's a lot of interpretation for, this is what's being presented. What do I think it is? And then
Where is
sure,
it?
that makes sense on a level, but if you keep like reading into the clues and looking into it more and more and figuring out, and they say things very deliberately. It's not just, oh, this happens to work. Like there is stuff that is put there very deliberately in presentation that makes it like, oh, I'm totally wrong. Like now that makes way more sense, and that's extra creepy. And I would just suggest watching it, because I could sit here and try to like recap all of it, but I don't know if I remember it well enough, and it's just way better seeing these presentations. Is all I'm going to say. But yeah, Five Nights 4 just came out, and
Center the frame better.
yeah, certainly. And it's fun. It's like the kind of game that I almost wish was on 3DS, simply because like I think it'd be kind of cool to have a market on there. I don't know if it would be a very creepy game on that system.
It'd be really creepy if, again, going back to the Vita
Mhm.
or anything like that,
Mhm.
with the touch panel or anything. Like, just imagine playing that in like a subway in the middle of the night by yourself, like a subway station. not
That
just,
seems like a bad
sandwich
decision.
shop.
I would be foolish.
Yeah,
I
you'd
would
just be like,
I wouldn't do that.
You would terrify the fuck out of yourself.
Wouldn't-
If like PT was on the Vita, and you were just sitting in like a subway station by yourself in the middle of the night playing that game, you would lose your damn mind.
Well, did Pat tell you about his experience with it?
No.
So he was playing it using like the streaming feature, laying in bed, lights out, just laying there playing PT, and something happened that scared him so bad that he threw his PSP across the bed because it freaked him out so bad.
Yeah, it's the same with our other friend who was in a room full of his friends when he was playing this game.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment like the really scary like surprise jump shot happens,
Yeah.
he threw the controller into the air and screamed. He was surrounded by his friends, and
Right.
he was still just terrified by that game.
Mhm.
For me personally, in order to get creeped out by a game, I have to have like headphones on, noise canceling ones,
Sure.
and be in a room by myself,
Yeah.
preferably with the lights off.
Sure.
Because I have tried Dead Space 1,000 times,
Mhm.
and there's always someone else in the room with me.
Mhm.
And 9 times out of 10,
Yeah.
any horror game I'm playing like that,
Yeah.
I lose all sense of like when I'm by myself.
Yeah.
I like really carefully go around each room, and like
Right.
even Dead Space specifically, I'd lean around the door
Mhm.
and like check every angle and
You
be
want to
like,
make it like exciting and
which like people have seen me play these games. They're like,
Yeah.
it's gonna take him an hour and a half to get down this hallway,
right.
Because I check every single thing. I
Yeah.
check every box. I check every door. When there's someone in the room with me,
Mhm.
I just in Dead Space again. I just ran forward and punched every monster in the face, and then just like I just ignored all like
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
all that buildup was gone for me. So
No.
I can't do horror games with other people.
I know what you mean. That actually makes a lot of sense. And it's interesting because in past years, I actually haven't felt scared by horror games in almost a decade. Since Silent Hill 3 was the last game. Silent Hill 4 had some creepy moments, but like I didn't get invested enough to really care. But Zombie U was kind of a fun, creepy game just because it was like a lot more about tension than it was like scare.
Yeah.
But like it was a tense game, But PT really did that for me. And I remember I downloaded Amnesia a couple years back, and I was playing. It was like 2 p.m, but I had black blankets over my windows. I had my speakers turned up. My room was as dark as it got. The atmosphere was there, and I was playing this game, and I was like, I'm just not feeling creeped out. Like it's not, I guess it's unsettling, but I never felt like the tension. Just because I was like, well, if the thing gets me, I just restart over there and I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like there was I didn't feel threatened. And someone was like, well, I mean, that's what happens when you played it 2 p.m. I was like, yeah, I'm not playing it at the
Doesn't really
mall,
matter.
on a laptop, in the food court or anything. I'm playing with the proper atmosphere. It's just not doing it for me. I played again at night too to double check it. It's kind of a fun game, like sure the thing chases you, it's kind of creepy, but like I just wasn't scared. But
Which that's a game we should come up with, Jeff.
a game that scares you?
No, a game designed, of course, that scares you, but a game that scares you that's designed to work when you're in like a crowded place.
Mhm.
Sitting in a mall food court or whatever. It
Yeah.
just plays off of that environment.
It's actually not a bad idea. I wonder how one would do that. Like make it so like you feel like you have like a sort of ambient noise of people walking around behind you, and something happens that triggers like a periphery sense that makes you think somebody there, and they're just totally not.
Well, again, I hate to go back to the Vita. Well, I guess the Vita or the 3DS could do that.
Yeah.
With that, what is the augmented reality feature?
Yeah.
Like if, say, it was like a clue game, you're going around and you're looking for like clues or whatever, and you just look up, and then in that food court itself, something's attacking you.
Yeah.
I don't know. That'd be interesting.
That'd be kind of a fun thing to do. I do like augmented reality, and I hope they actually get a chance to explore it more with the 3DS. The Microsoft HoloLens thing is apparently going to piss a lot of people off because the field of view is so small that like it's not going to be immersive in the way that like they want you to believe it is. Which, if the technology's not there, it's not there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they want to, but it might be tremendously expensive for them to do it, which is probably why they won't for some time, and that's fair. That's fine. Because what they showed at E3, the tech demo was like glorious. That's okay. Well, that was like the best part of Microsoft's press conference. They showed some good stuff, like the Rare Replay collection, a handful of other things, like a new Fable, I guess. But the HoloLens was like the sky.
That's how excited people are for
Yeah.
Fable. I guess a new Fable. I don't know.
Yeah. I hear this new maybe. So
Maybe talked about it.
but there's a lot of fun stuff actually coming out of E3. Again, I mean, I know this is like a month and a half after E3, but there's still a lot of great stuff on the horizon. I know we're actually just going off of tangents, and that's just sort of the flow of this.
That's kind of what we do.
Pretty much is how it goes.
Especially when it's just you and me. when we got Radon or someone to direct the conversation slightly, it helps. But
That's true. Yeah,
you and I,
easier to maintain focus.
the
of some
majority of what we say is just chaos, anyways.
sort. Mhm.
Like our poor friends.
I know.
It
People
just-
have to deal
it's just
with this.
And a good part of our conversation is just me going, John, and you going, what? And it's just-
What? Yeah, come
Yeah.
on. Makes sense.
or you go, Michael, and I go,
Yeah,
it's meaningless, just rambling.
banter. Podcast. Oh, I mean, what worldly events? What happened recently? Worldly. Oh, dude shot a lion. I don't know if anybody wants to talk
The
about
dentist?
this. Yeah, somebody commissioned a dentist to kill a lion. I didn't read a lot into it. I mean, that sucks.
So the only reason I know he's a dentist is because I've not read this story.
Yeah,
I know he killed a lion on safari or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But the only reason I know he's a dentist is because I read the tagline that says, "Dentist gets drilled for killing famous lion."
that seems like a tasteless headline to
Yeah,
put up there.
of course.
I mean, the whole thing is tasteless because, I think this lion was even like named. This was like a lion that was,
yeah, it was famous.
It was a
That's
famous
why
lion.
He's getting so much shit for it.
what an. I mean, I don't really.
He doesn't necessarily know that it's a famous lion, does he?
Why would he be commissioned to kill this lion
Was he
specifically?
commissioned or was he just hunting?
He was actually paid like for this specifically, from what I understand.
Well, then he's an idiot.
Yeah, no, it was really, really an awful
I
situation.
have not read the story. I cannot speak to it properly.
Sure,
So,
we should probably shy. Let's talk about something non-controversial, like the gays,
or the blacks,
right?
or the black gays.
Black gays. That's Donald Trump, man. He would.
That's Donald Trump.
Yeah, that's him in a nutshell. That man is crazy. And here's my thing. I don't actually have a problem with anybody's political agenda, and I'm not saying like him because I do have a problem with his political agenda. But I've got friends who are Republican, I've got friends who are Democrat, I've got friends who are in between and libertarian and all over the place, and that's totally cool. People believe what they believe, they do what they do. As long as you're not being a total monster about it to anybody else, I think it's totally fine. But I don't know anybody who's so extreme that it's I have to kick them out of my life. So everybody's at some sort of general peace. Everybody kind of wants the same thing. They want their friends and family to do well. They want to survive. They want to live in a safe world and environment, and everybody's happy, right? It's very utopian, but everybody sort of just wants the same thing. But what I want to know is Donald Trump's stance on things is so extreme and so aggressive and so belittling and so belligerent. I want to know who listens to what he says and goes, you know what? Yeah, I agree. Because I mean, there's people out there who do.
Yeah.
But I want to know who those people are, because anybody that I associate with, my parents are both very extremely, right wing.
Mhm.
They wouldn't listen to anything he said and go, oh, that makes sense. They'd be
Yeah,
like, that man's a
Same here.
monster.
Everyone that I know,
You know?
is just
Even my most Republican, conservative, non-immediate relatives would look at that and go, no. Even I, and they've got some pretty radical beliefs that I might not drive with.
I've
But
got a few cousins who post all that.
but even though, yeah,
hardcore America.
even these
stuff
guys
on
would
Facebook.
certainly listen to that and
Which
go, what is
I'm
wrong?
not saying I don't got a little bit of that America in me as well,
Okay.
but I got those cousins who are like, you need to tone it down a little bit,
Sure,
buddy."
sure.
But even them, they look at him and they're like,
Yeah, who sent you?
yeah,
How on earth? But then, of course, even The Onion made a parody headline about it saying, nobody really wants him to be kicked out because they want to see how far this train wreck can keep
Mhm.
going. And yeah, truthfully, it's so self-parodying that it's so hard to not want to see where it ends up.
and it's so bad to the point where you're like, is he doing this as a joke or is he?
Yeah, this has to be the ultimate goof.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you're like, there's no way he doesn't know, right? There's no way he's not aware of how crazy he seems.
Yeah.
Or does it's
It's hard to say. Is he cognizant of the things that he's telling the world?
it'll boggle minds for generations.
Yeah, I don't know. So it's pretty monstrous, but I guess it doesn't exactly pertain to video games. So it's one of those things that I was thinking about, just current affairs. But it's something
podcast.
something to talk about. Yeah, I guess the
Talk about
the
whatever.
podcast can be anything. All right, so Donald Trump, what a guy. Yeah, just groan.
Yeah, he exists. And the problem is he's just had so much money and so much power for so long that he does whatever he wants.
He's truly insane.
Yeah, it's not even that he doesn't fear consequences, it's that he doesn't understand that they exist anymore.
Yeah, because nothing on his level can't be bought his way out of. If
Mhm.
if he anything could happen to him, he'd be like, "Well, I've got money."
Yeah, and
to
he
handle
got
this.
paid to have a show where he was just an asshole to people.
That should just fired people.
And he was like, "Oh, people love this."
People will love this. People I'm firing. Yeah, I'm wondering, like, was the show just catered towards like really rich white lobbyists?
People loved that fucking show.
That's
All
that's
walks
true.
of life. It was fucking ridiculous.
It is pretty ridiculous. Well, I mean, I used to have an ex-girlfriend, who watched a lot of like Rock of Love and Flavor of Love and all those like trashy shows. And then, admittedly, Juanita and I actually ended up watching all the way through Jersey Shore
I watched the Jersey Shore too,
because it's entertaining.
on your recommendation though. But
It's funny, isn't it?
it's
Entertaining.
it's more fascinating to me than it is
That-
funny.
that's
So
right.
It's like,
Yeah.
because legitimately, when you're watching it, you get the feeling that they don't know how odd what they're doing is.
Yeah.
They're just like, they think that they're really good people and looking out for each other, which, in their social circle, they are.
Sure. That's
Like,
they're probably the
from
better
their
of-
standards, These guys are all great people. It's
Right.
just we live in a weird. Well, I mean, we live in New Mexico,
Right.
which is a weird mix of like hippie mentality combined with the old West, if that makes any sense whatsoever. But
Yeah.
that's what we live in.
Right.
It's a place where we kind of let people do whatever they want, and we don't really give a damn as long as they don't touch us, because then we'll have to like shoot them. That's where we live, and they just live in a world of we're just gonna drink our faces off and yell and scream and smash whatever we want because we can.
The first episode I ever watched of Jersey Shore, and it was mostly because there was a curiosity because people had discussed this.
You don't need to defend watching it. Everyone has watched.
Well,
like, an
that's
episode
fine,
of
but I'm going to tell you exactly what it was that like made me interested because I had no interest in watching the show, right? Because I was like, I don't want to waste my time with this, but I was curious, and I said, let's give an episode a shot. So Juanita and I sat down, and it's the girls, the meatballs, whatever, and like they're upstairs yelling at a bunch of stuff, and they walk downstairs, and all three guys are just sitting there polishing their sneakers. And then she was like, "This can't be real. What are they doing?" Because they weren't like polishing like like really nice, expensive, shiny black shoes.
Yeah.
They all
It
had
was
white sneakers,
Yeah.
probably hundreds of dollars, whatever, and they're just sitting there polishing them in the living room together, like it's like women have like a Tupperware burping party or whatever, and these Guido men are just sitting there cleaning
their
shoes.
And it's just one of those things. The reason why it got so popular is, again, going back to New Mexico as an example.
Mhm.
This is generally an entire state of people who live paycheck to paycheck. And the idea that anyone would just have like a couple $100
Yeah.
to spend on their nicer shoes.
Yeah,
Like they're wearing nice shoes at the time that they're cleaning these other shoes. Like,
that's true.
this isn't their
That's
only
true.
shoes that they're just shining up. These are we're going to wear these later shoes. And it's just like the idea of that is fascinating.
So I've got an idea. I've got a pitch now for a new TV show. Okay, so we take it's like the Real World, okay, or
Sure.
Jersey Shore, or whatever. It's one of these, like 16 people.
Did you hear that? Like next thing in Real World's being filmed in New Mexico.
I did actually hear that,
Mhm.
but here's the
We'll
catch.
get back to that.
Yeah, exactly. We will get back to that. Here's the catch. Okay, so they take them all out to like a ghost ranch or something, and that's where they live for the next 3 months as like cowboys. They only have access to like
A ghost ranch. They raise ghosts.
right.
Yep.
So
Raise and wrangle.
they get them out there, and like they provide them with cows and horses. They have some hay. They've got some barns. They've got the saloon. They've got the sure. And then what they have to do is they have to form their own sort of I guess republic. I'm not sure exactly how they would do it because depending on like who they chose, who knows what would happen. But I want them to have to live like cowboys from like the early 1900s for 3 months.
Just like, here's some supplies.
Yeah.
Fucking go.
Yeah, and like I want them to have like guns, not like lethal guns, but like something that could like signify, I don't know, like
Something to establish dominance. with.
basically, yeah, exactly, and like laser tag vests in a sense, but like that would
Just airsoft pistols.
airsoft pistols, sure, yeah, exactly,
Ow, fucker.
yeah, or paintball or something, but something that would assert where people would put somebody in like a position of power or respect, just because I would like to see how this would play out, I'm
It
curious.
would end terribly.
Oh yeah, no, nothing. There'd be nothing good
Every
about
single
this.
one of those lawless type society things that they ever do always ends with like raping and pillaging. Like that's how it always like breaks down. It's
Yeah.
just society falls apart and someone establishes it as the alpha male and just does whatever the fuck he wants.
Gene Hackman.
Gene Hackman would be the Alpha Man.
Well, the Quick and the Dead,
Yeah, the Quick and the Dead.
and he
That's
just
exactly what would happen.
yeah.
The biggest, toughest dude around
But then the
takes over
exciting
the
part
whole town.
is somebody has to say this man needs to be stopped.
No,
And
that's
he-
not how that happened. Because in reality, even the reality of that movie,
Right.
no one in the town did that. They
There's
had
an
to wait
outsider.
for someone else who was that pissed to come and take care of it.
And somebody from the real world New Mexico.
Just a fucking- just a bandito.
Just yeah, some urbanite like shows up and does what needs to be done.
The real world New Mexico. That's where the hardcore cowboy comes from.
So they're filming that out here. Is it gonna be in Albuquerque?
I'm not sure. You kind of assume it's either got to be Santa Fe or Albuquerque.
It'd be really weird if it were like a Truth or Consequences or something.
Just
Just nothing to do.
It's just them just sitting at the corner store.
yeah.
There's nothing to do at DOC
Mm-mm.
or Tucumcari.
Or Tucumcari.
So I don't know anything about it. I just saw that it was coming, and I like bookmarked that article to read later, and
Yeah.
I just have not gotten back to it yet. But it's like, if it's in Albuquerque, I mean, they could do downtown Albuquerque as part of the real world and
Yeah.
just get them one of those big fucking lofts or whatever,
Right.
or cheaper just to get a house on the edge of town somewhere. But it's like, that's gonna go so wrong so fast.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm assuming they're not going to be all New Mexicans, because that's going to be a boring fucking show to watch. Just a bunch of people like going to work and then like buying groceries and coming home.
Where would they get jobs?
If they're from out of town or if
Province.
it's, yeah,
Or
pretty much.
farmers market. I'm trying to think they would try to integrate them into like complete local culture.
We don't really have any like,
No.
like Blake's.
We have Blake's. They get a job at Blake's.
I mean, we've got some farmer markets, we got some co-ops, we got stuff like that all
Right.
around town. But it's like, I guess what's the thing off of Central and like Louisiana?
Talin?
Yeah, you know that little whole Asian like
Yeah.
cultural market
That's
area.
so not New Mexican, which is even
It
better.
so isn't, but it's really funny.
It is a multicultural. Yeah,
Just work at the zoo.
that'd be kind of cool.
That would be kind of cool.
Except they
Real world, the zoo.
the people that they choose to be in the real world are generally not very grounded in like any sort of reality, and so I have a feeling like the animals' lives would be in danger or coworkers.
Which that's what I'm wondering, if they're bringing people to New Mexico or if they're finding New Mexicans to be in that show.
That's a good question. I can't remember how the real world worked. I remember was it
The first one you had to like apply to get in. and
was
they
like in
took
what, San
people from, like,
Francisco or
all over.
something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think they took people from all over and put them in this house in San Francisco.
And then they tried them that way.
And then
I
they
think
just,
it was
like-
like a melting pot of different. I guess all Americans. They didn't have like much of a racial variety.
Like a Dominican.
Dominican Sammy Sosa.
Mhm.
Yeah, Sammy Sosa and Puck. I do remember liking watching those shows. Is that like the first time they ever started like doing like any sort of reality TV?
It was
Real
kind of
World?
one of the first ones.
Because that's the first I can
If it
think
wasn't
of.
the first, it was damn near the first.
Yeah.
Like, it was arguably the most well known
Yeah, certainly.
to get going.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything about it because I was pretty young when it was on. I just remember someone arguing about shampoo. I think happened.
I
It
believe
was
that.
just like, it was just chaos.
It's so interesting to see the people that show up to these things and like what their perception of how other people should act is. Like some people are very entitled and some people are like, I can't believe you didn't, put the cutting board away. You're such an idiot. Whereas like somebody else is like, whatever, it'll be totally fine. And maybe both viewpoints are completely valid from different, upbringings, but like it becomes a conflict.
Mhm.
And then these people start getting mad about it. And then
Yeah,
like
instead of just
becomes-
going like, oh, sorry.
yeah, name calling and punches and like defending like a weird principle. And there has to be, some sort of Hawthorne effect going on where the moment these people are on camera, they embellish the personality.
Yeah, people are gonna act crazy because they want more attention.
Right.
Which that's just the way.
Mike
it
the
is.
situation.
Yeah.
That guy
The
is nuts.
situation exists, and there's no reason why.
No, that guy is absolutely bonkers.
That guy, he blows my mind.
I'm almost surprised they didn't make like a Jersey Shore video. They probably did for PC or like some sort of weird.
I'm
like,
sure
online
there's a
game.
Jersey Shore video game.
Well, they had Jersey Shore avatars for Xbox 360.
I 100% guarantee there's a Jersey Shore video game.
It has to be some
If
sort
nothing
of,
else, it's a Trivial
some
Pursuit.
web game or something.
But it's like,
That's true. Maybe it was just like seen it or whatever.
there's got to be like Jersey Shore or something on the fucking Wii. Or something.
You can buy a shirt for your avatar that has him lifting up
And
the
just
shirt
abs.
to expose your abs. I wanted to buy it, but then like my color would have been different because I have darker skin.
Yeah, it's
Though-
weird.
that would have been like a tan, like a tan line. So I could have justified
You're
it.
an ethnic.
Yeah, but
you know.
So new Smash content. Let's discuss that. That comes out.
Let's get away from the Jersey Shore.
We'll talk about
I
Jersey Shore.
More.
Let's talk about Jersey Shore. Let's talk about making your the Mike situation me in Jersey Shore, or I mean, in Smash
Legitimately, all I
Brothers.
was going to say about that
Yeah.
was I was driving around for my former job listening to the radio,
Mhm.
and there was an interview with Snooki and JWoww because they have like a TV show now or something.
That's right, they do.
Well, it was just like when they were talking to them, they were like, "So, are you going to be doing crazy stuff now? Like, being behind
'cause
bars and all
Snooki
that
has a
stuff?"
baby, right?
And yeah, that was basically their answer was like, no, all that stuff was fine when we were like 21 or whatever, but
Yeah.
like we're parents now and we're like married, so
That does not make for an exciting show.
yeah, it's like
That's how you
but
kill
that's
your
like
audience.
the reality of it was that they were just young idiots.
Yeah.
And now they're like, no, we're not gonna do that.
Yeah. No,
Good
Good on them because there's still a lot of people out there who would.
yeah,
You
they
know,
just,
that's-
like
So that's pretty impressive that
well,
even
the problem is
they.
a lot of people just lost their damn minds.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it wasn't that these people were crazy, like Snooki and all them. They were just young and stupid, as everyone is.
That's true. Yeah, it just sort of comes with the experience.
But
Yeah.
anyways, on to
Smash Brothers. Okay. So new DLC, Friday. Gonna have a Dr. Mario stage, which has like, viruses. I don't know if they come down or if they're, on the stage and pills come down and kill the viruses, I presume. As well as the classic Hyrule Castle and the classic Mario 64 stage. I think all those, so those are for the Wii U version, and I'm pretty sure the 3DS version is getting the Mario 64, the Hyrule Temple, and Great Bay from Termina in Majora's Mask. That's rumored. We're not positive it's happening, but it looks, there's like a screenshot that came out, and so maybe.
are they purchase?
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be a pack. It also comes with a couple, new Mii costumes. There's Chrom from Fire Emblem. There's a King K. Rool costume. People are upset about because they want K. Rool as a character and not as a Mii costume. I don't say that it necessarily rules him out because there's a couple costumes that Mii's can get that are also characters in the game. But it's tricky to say if that's actually going to be one of those things that,
Yeah, I saw some people complaining about that.
Yeah, and I mean, so it's not conclusive just yet, so I wouldn't, jump the gun. But, people could use it as compelling evidence to say this is the extent of K. Rool's appearance in the game. Who knows? They also have Smash hoodies for your characters, which are kind of cool because there's little red hoodies with the Smash logo on them. And, now I'm just going to want an actual Smash hoodie, which Nintendo might release at some point. Yeah, no, totally. But with new stages comes new songs, comes new Omega modes. And there was a small discussion in the group today, and one of the subjects was Smash 4 and stages that are banned for tournaments and stages that are banned for whatever. And what I was thinking about Smash 4 a lot recently was I really like the game. I like Smash 4 a lot. I love PM. I don't play Melee, but I still respect it tremendously. But the more I play Smash 4, the more saddened I am that there are so many stages in this game that aren't utilized for tournament play. And the reason I think that Smash 4 could benefit from these things more often, and we won't say every single stage, but you watch a movie like Running Man, and it's essentially a game show of death, right?
Yeah.
What's fun to me about that isn't that it's even ground, it's that this man has to survive variables. Things happen that he has to find a way to be prepared for. And that to me, it's like Mario Kart. Mario Kart is, I could be driving along and doing everything by the book.
Yeah,
Somebody might get a blue shell, someone might have a red shell, a green shell might come out of nowhere, or something on the track might just sideswipe me.
with your own green shell.
Right. And so there's like this kind of this propensity that something will get you no matter how good you're doing. And with Smash Brothers, I love the idea of utilizing that to your advantage. And because, say you're playing the Pilot Wing stage, okay, your planes are flying through the level, and you come across like the one area in the stage where there's actually like a tangible backdrop for a quick second that can do damage to you. You fly through like a big like crag, the aggro crag, and it's very unlikely to get hit by it, but you can get hit by it.
Yeah.
Or say Pokemon Stadium 1, because we're watching one of the matches at Evo. There's something kind of cool about the fact that, oh shoot, the background's changing, something's going to happen. We know actually what it is, but we have to now accommodate and change what we're doing based on that variable.
Yeah.
And that's exciting to me because something comes up that says rules have changed. You still got to do your objective, but now this is thrown into the mix. And so like when this big mountain came up, one of the characters was like, shoot, this is not my battle, so I've got to hang out over on this side because I'm screwed if I don't do this. The other character was like, I can try to pursue them, but then that baits me in a position that's actually worse for me. So we got to figure this out. Maybe it makes them sit around for a little longer, 30 seconds or whatever. But it's cool because you recognize that suddenly a new condition is thrown into the mix that you have to meet.
Plus, there's always going to be that one guy who just doesn't care, and he's going to
Yeah.
go for big air anyway.
Yeah, and that's
Which is the funnest thing to
even
see.
more exciting.
Yeah, I
And
care way more about
yeah.
that.
And I feel that Smash 4 really accommodates that. I play Smash 4 for the excitement and not just Omega stages. I know we practice on them a lot,
Mhm.
but it's kind of fun because in Smash 4, there's very few things that like you don't know about because everything is announced in some form or another. On Earthbound stage, when a car is going to come, a little thing pops up, you hear the car make its horn noise, and it drives by and runs over you. You know to avoid that. So the tell is there for every one of these
Yeah.
scenarios.
I wish we had that clip of you killing me on the Pokemon stage with the swords.
Oh, that's on my
I wish we
YouTube.
could just throw that up here.
Yeah, just real quick. No, it's a phenomenal clip where Michael ended up getting hit by the swords in the Pokemon Kalos
The Coliseum thing.
yeah.
Right as it was changing features, so the swords were going off the stage.
Yeah,
And I got hit into them and bounced all the way up and off the stage.
back and
with
forth
them.
to death. It was really super impressive. I'd never seen that before. But to me, that's fun because it's like,
yeah, it doesn't matter if I was winning that fight. 'cause
Yeah.
Guess what? Giant fucking sword.
yeah, something happened that made a different call. And that's why, like, and for PM, because the game relies on a more technical aspect, I don't mind that the variables are going to be, what your opponent does.
Yeah.
I think that's it's good to have both ways, but there's something about Smash 4 that they've got so many fun stages, and the idea of seeing a fraction of those during a tournament kills me.
Yeah. Well, I've actually been discussing it with some of the Smash 4 guys.
Mhm.
The idea of maybe at one of the Smash Sundays just
Mhm.
doing random stage tournaments.
Straight up, you get a random stage, and
Yeah,
that's
you
all there
go
is to
on
it.
random stage, enjoy the fates, guys.
And because that's
Like-
something that's fun about that too is it encourages you to go
Kick
home.
the table.
It's totally fine to go home and get a feel for the random stages.
Yeah,
So
go
that
play
way,
some of these fun
if
ones.
one of these stages comes up, you're like, I know the gimmick.
Mhm.
My opponent might not know the gimmick. That gives me a leg up, and that's exciting to me. That's what's so cool about it. It's like a Mario Kart stage, Rainbow Road. I know how to take this one turn super well, and if you don't, you're kind of boned. But like I practiced for
Yeah.
like this one thing. I've also my contingency is if the Bowser is on this side attacking this bridge, I know exactly what to do and how to avoid it. But if he's on this side, I know what I have to do in case of that too. And having a plan for several scenarios, I think makes it a little bit more exciting because you almost have to be prepared for multiple outcomes. And that's what I like. That's what I want.
Yeah, that's way better.
Yeah.
Well, you know my general policy with Smash Bros. And
Yeah.
games in general.
Yeah.
I'm the goes for big area.
Yeah.
I am that guy.
And it's more exciting to watch.
9
too,
times out of
you
10,
know?
I'm doing great in a tournament.
Yeah.
And I went for one stupid move I should have gone on just
Yeah.
because it makes me laugh.
Yeah.
And I lose the tournament, but I don't care because it's so.
Yeah. And then if you win based off it, it's like extra exciting. It's
Yeah.
even more satisfying. Yeah. No, there's, and I don't want to discount anybody else's opinion. If people want to play, traditional, standard, more by the book, that's totally fine. But I think Smash 4 is built so much around that, and people's disparity from it comes from the fact that they want it to play like Melee when it's not designed for that.
Yeah, and
And these new stages accommodate more towards what Smash 4 is designed for.
that's a mistake. In general, I agree
Yeah.
with you because fundamentals of all these games are there.
Mhm.
There's, tech rolling, all that stuff is
Mhm.
all in the games.
Mhm.
And it really just depends on what you're expecting out of the game. You and
Mhm.
I have played Smash 4 1,000 times, but
Mhm.
never competitively, really.
Yeah.
But when I entered a tournament for
Mhm.
it, I still did pretty well because it's
The
it's all
fundamentals
there.
are still,
Just playing around for fun
Yeah.
carries over in
Yeah.
Smash 4. It's
Yeah.
just fun. It's a fun game.
Sure.
You don't need to go into it and like, oh, it's this many frames to do this and that.
Mhm.
It's like, just play, man.
Yeah.
Just have fun with it.
Yeah, use your attacks that the character has. This stage is going to have something that's going to fall from the roof during this port. Just that's all there's to it. Just enjoy.
Yeah. You might piss off that weird chicken man from Earthbound and he's going to start punching you.
Right. Yeah,
These things happen.
that's fun. Does it make it a little bit one-sided? Maybe, but you should have gotten to it first.
Yeah.
You know?
You knew the risks.
Yeah.
And if you didn't, that's your fault.
right,
Play the game.
yeah, I like
Smashketball, John,
Smash Ball.
is a perfect example of this.
Arguably the best.
For those of you who don't know, Smashketball is a version of Smash Bros. Smash 4, where they made a basketball stadium, basically, stage, and the only way you can kill your opponent is to knock them into a barrel that shoots them off the stage. It's a ton of fun, and the moves you use in that are not exactly what you would use in regular Smash, but John and I have played hours of Smashketball.
Hours of Smashketball.
And it's so fun, and it's so stupid.
It just, because it brings up the same game, same engine, but a totally different way to play it, and it capitalizes on the differences.
And that's what I want to see. I want to see more people just looking into what all they can do with Smash 4.
Right.
With the custom stage builder, with all the characters, the custom moves, stuff like that. There's no limit to how many fun modes people could make.
Right.
But they just don't.
Yeah.
They just don't do that.
No, I know. It's unfortunate.
I don't know.
So, and again, I respect that the community has like a certain standard. There's certain things they want to play, but I think being able to branch out from that and just allow it is a good idea. I think it's good for the self to not get so contained in saying, I won't play it or I can't play it if these conditions aren't met. I think the game is designed around both ways, and I love playing Final Destination for glory, when the time is appropriate. But I like playing openly just as much because, I remember we had a buddy of ours in the scene, and we had introduced, and this is actually, it's weird because it goes to show you how closed people are to elements of change, is we added a brand new level into the game. Literally identical to one of the other levels, except for not visually. It was a different theme. It was like a Bowser Castle, but it had, but it was essentially Battlefield.
Yeah,
that's all it was. The platforms are up there. You fall off the edge, you die. But he was like, well, I don't want to, make it too hard for new people coming into the scene. I was like, it's not any different. It just has a different background. It's not different. You're not, freaking them out because, well, I thought we were going to play on the lava stage instead of the space stage. No.
Yeah, that's all. The other thing is, the players like that. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, no, you're good.
The players like that who are always like, oh, we don't want to scare off these new players. Most of these new players don't care about the stage you're playing on. They do, but they're not going like, oh, well, this one is this one, and they need all this specific stuff. They're just playing. They're newbies. They're just having fun, and it's like,
so
there's so much fear in the Smash Bros. Scene in general about scaring people off, that they've ended up suffocating the scene for the most part.
I think, and I think something we have to do, because there's two ways to go about this. Number one is we do want to adequately train anybody who's preparing for large-scale tournaments, whether it's at EVO or Apex or anything in the future. We want them to be prepared for that. Final Destination for glory stages, 2 stock, 6 minutes or whatever, the standard rule sets. There's a time to play that. There's a presentation to prepare people for that and whatever the scene standard is going to be. But I do think that it is really good to mix it up, and I think our Sunday tournaments actually should largely consist of doing the things that are fun. You can play friendlies out to the side with your buddies and just, do standard tournament practice. But I think it's also a really good thing to just take a deep breath, take a step back, try something new. It's like if you work every single day doing the same thing, you burn yourself out. So sometimes you just got to kick back, throw on a movie, don't answer your phone, don't, worry about getting anything done, just enjoy.
Yeah.
And Smash 4 Open really does that. Smash 4 tournament mode, it's still there. It'll still be in effect. People still do it. But sometimes you just pick a character, you just pick a stage and just go see what happens. Yeah. Because I never want to, again, to belittle anybody's opinion for what they want for the scene. I think it's all valid. But I think a little variety is good for everybody.
Yeah, I agree.
For any game.
Because that's one of those things. Like, amongst our little scene, I'm kind of viewed as like a Melee hater. And that's not the truth.
Yeah.
Like, I have no problem with Melee.
Yeah.
I entered our big Melee tournament that we had, and I got destroyed.
Sure.
Of course. But it's like, I would love to play that game with everyone else. I'd love to see that scene get bigger here. The problem is, every time I try, it feels like there's such like an elitist bar on that game that I don't even want to bother.
Yeah, it's kind of disparaging, unfortunately.
And it's not that I think the game's bad or the players themselves are bad. It's just like, if you're not doing this thing that everyone wants you to be doing, you're viewed as a bad player. And I feel like that's
that's more
deterring. Off
topic, but it's like
that's more deterring.
It really bothers me because I would love to build us a Melee scene, but I don't think it's gonna go well until we kind of get past. We need a silly way to introduce it.
Yeah, the Melee scene exists for the people who are obsessed with Melee already, and so anybody who sees it's not inclusive. It's a very exclusive kind of group, and I would love to bring more people and more variety into it as well.
I've heard some people talking about how, like, you know, we have to introduce people to Smash 4 and then introduce them to PM and then to Melee, like work them up to Melee. And I'm like, once people get to PM and Smash 4, they're not going to want to spend the time on Melee. Some of them are. I'm not going to say no one is. It's just, you've already got 2 games under your belt that you really love.
Yeah.
And there's this third one that doesn't have as much showing in New Mexico.
Right.
I know it's big everywhere else, but here, building it's such a problem.
Yeah, and I would like to try to do it because if the scene can grow and if we can get more people into doing that, I want to. I don't ever want to like not build something because I don't have as much vested interest in it. That has nothing to do with it. It depends on, you know, like, can we build a healthy scene? Can we find people to help us build it appropriately? And can we make it feel like anybody can be included in this regardless of skill level or entry level? Because the number one thing, this is super huge for me. And I kind of had like a discussion at the store the other day with some guys about this, is someone actually wrote on like the sign up sheet for like, you know, like the Smash Night, they wrote, you know, I hate Smash 4 right there in big letters. And I don't care if people hate Smash 4. I don't care if people hate any game. There's nothing to do with me. That's none of my business what games people like or dislike. The problem I have with it is it makes people who like that game feel bad for liking it. It makes people feel like, should I not like this? Why am I hanging out with these people if they hate this game that I'm trying to play? It sends a really bad message. And not only does that reflect poorly upon the community, it's in my store, so it reflects poorly on my store. People's attitude in my store reflects upon my store because I sanction these people being here. And so I think it's really important for people to see that, you know, their actions are bigger than themselves when it comes to what they display of their own personal, you know.
Well, which it's the same thing as there's been some tournaments where we've had to scold players for having inappropriate tags for their characters, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's just them, they think they're just being silly or whatever. They don't realize there's ramifications for doing stuff like that.
Yeah. We want to keep it like a friendly place that, again, we don't want to exclude anybody or make anybody feel bad. There's a time and a place with your friends, you know, name your character Dickhole all day long. I don't care. That's super cool. When it comes to the shop, sometimes parents come in, sometimes kids come in. And when they see that, they think, oh, is this appropriate, you know, behavior for my kid to be around? No. So I'm going to take it easy because, you know, like.
Especially at Smash 4 tournaments, kids come to those.
Kids come to those, yeah.
Yeah, that's just the way that is.
But
if we do a Mario Kart tournament, there's going to be kids there.
Yeah.
Just because Mario Kart appeals to everyone.
Also, Splatoon tournament's coming soon because the big update that allows for private lobbies hits August 5th. Therefore, we get, you know, people bringing their Wii U's into the shop, and we have 4-on-4 tournaments, and holy buttholes, I'm excited. Yeah, I'm really, really, really pumped.
Well, that's off-camera conversations we'll have.
Yeah, we'll discuss this. We're actually discussing store stuff now, which, you know, if people ever want to like sort of look into what we do for the store, I'm not sure how many of like our Smash patrons or store patrons are watching this, but what's kind of fun is that I like getting questions about how I run the business and what I do with the business because there's a lot that goes into it, and people go, well, if only you did this, it'd be better. And in most cases, like any, you know, professional industry, and I'm not saying I'm the most professional of them all, is that everything is considered. Like usually stuff that people bring up to me has been considered. And if it hasn't been, then sure, I'll absolutely look into it. But we don't do a lot of things simply based on the fact that we say, is this reasonable for us to do? Is it conducive to community growth? Is it a detriment to the store? And a lot of factors go into that because there's just so many variables that, you know, well, you guys should just, you know, do this for the store. Okay, well, we've checked that out and it would just lose us tons of money.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we can't do that.
Yeah, we would love just to shut the store down for a 15-man tournament.
Yeah.
Every other day.
Yeah.
But we just can't do that.
Right. And so, and I like questions because number one is I'm not going to, you know, belittle somebody's opinion, but I want them to say, hey, why do you do this? And I can say, this is exactly why it's done. And sometimes I'll get suggestions that push further beyond that. I go, you know what? That's not a bad idea. I'll look into it again. And that's even better for me as well as the consumer. And it's fun just because it covers so much of the spectrum and it gets both people thinking. It's kind of like when people come in and they say, you know, why can't you buy, you know, this stuff for X amount of dollars? And I say, because the total value of this stuff I'd sell for less than X amount of dollars. Therefore, I can't do that.
why can't you buy this from me for the same amount that you're selling it for?
Right.
Which I've heard customers ask you that 1,000 times.
Sure.
You sell this for $35. Why don't you buy it from me for $35? It's like, because I sell that for $35.
As a small business, obviously, right. Yeah. And, you know, some people just have never really thought about that. And so as an opportunity to educate them on those things, sure, that's kind of fun. It's kind of exciting because there's so much that goes into store choices. And, you know, and there's a lot of things that I want to do to improve and grow upon that. The biggest, hardest part is that we're a small business. I don't have tons of capital, and there are just some concessions I cannot make because I don't have extra 50 grand lying around to like envision some grand dream. Yeah. And then it's hard because, you know, you get people that say, well, you know, why do you just monetize these events? You guys just want money. Yeah, we want money. We're a store. I want to be able to do things, and what I'm doing costs money. You know, at Sunday nights, that costs me money. Being open for 6 hours and using, you know, 12 different power outlets, that costs money. That's more money, you know,
the time that whoever is managing that
personal time, whether right. And so it's interesting because there's just a lot of things that it's not that people are dumb or ignorant, but there's just certain things that aren't really taken into consideration. Yeah. And it's fun to say, hey, this is, you know, like there's a lot that goes into every one of these decisions.
9 times out of 10, the thing that's not considered, I've noticed, is just the time of the employee.
Sure.
Like people are like, well, you could just keep this open and, you know, we'll come and play. It's like, yeah, but someone has to be
there.
You can't just let you into the store and be like, later, dudes.
Yeah.
That's not how the world
There's not a single business that would do that. Walmart goes, well, we're closed, but you guys can just chill.
Yeah.
You know, no one's
go home.
Yeah, none of the employees will be here, but feel free just to hang out.
Yeah, you can't do that. Yeah. Someone's got to be there.
Right. And so, you know, like it's one of those things. I want to do more designs of t-shirts. T-shirts do cost money. If we order t-shirts, you know, I want to be able to, you know, accommodate to as many sizes as I can, but I can't just order t-shirts on a, you know, a piece by piece basis because I have to order a minimum amount of t-shirts. And so like, there's all kinds of stuff just to say, you know, there's reasons that this has to be done this way. And we'll do a print run of 50 t-shirts of, you know, 4 different sizes. And if we run out, I'm sorry. But that's just the way it's going to go. Maybe you could pre-order a t-shirt. I don't know. Actually, now that we mentioned that, I might pre-order like our next set of t-shirts, the Punch-Out shirts, that I haven't publicly shown yet, and I'm very excited to.
Even I haven't seen those.
Oh man, they're aces.
Aces,
huh? Man. Yeah. So I'll order like an X amount, and then, you know,
a shirt with a bunch of aces on it.
Yeah, just the ace. It's a playing card. It says Punch-Out. No, it's actually a really cool shirt that I'm super excited. Ace Attorney. No, we got some cool ideas.
Ace Attorney fighting Little Mike.
But
I found another cat.
I do like the idea of actually utilizing some podcast time to answer, you know, store questions and other things, just because there's so much. Actually, is the Q&A app working? Oh wow, okay.
Sorry, buddy.
Yeah. This hadn't popped up during the entirety of our conversation, so we have a bunch of stuff to catch up on. All right. Only a little bit. Let's see. What about Slender Man? Talk about China lifting the ban on video games. I want a Vita. Okay, so I don't know if anybody who asked these questions is still watching, but these all, I just got these just now. And now that we're sort of like into the second half of the show, we can answer a couple of them.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. I actually really want a Vita. Oh, that was so my buddy Joel from Media Glitch actually sent us all this kind of stuff. He wants a Vita. He's borrowing one of my 3DSs. What about Slender Man? PT is definitely the most freaky game I've ever played. And I would agree. PT actually, pound for pound, it's short, but it has made me feel more terrified than anything I've played.
Yeah, like I've tried Slender Man, a few different versions of it, and it's never really gotten me. Again, I'm a harder person in general to creep out, but PT actually got me. And a lot of it has to do with the sound. You know, sound in that game is just perfect to get you kind of wigged out.
Yeah.
Which is what a lot of games miss out on. Like, say if you're playing Slender Man on your phone.
Yeah.
Like, sure, the visuals might all be there and it might suck you in and everything, but you don't have that, like, wood creaking noise in the back of your ear or anything like that.
It's important.
It's really going to make you think, oh, crap, something's going to be right behind me.
Sure.
Which PT just nails all the way through.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's my general view on that.
It's well, that's pretty much it. Yeah, PT just was presented extremely well, and it was fun, and it was creepy and ambiguous, and it's fascinating to me. One of my favorite parts about it is that, like, if you're just playing this game by yourself, and you had, like, say it came out in like 1991, okay, But it had like the fidelity, that was like the expectation, that was a standard, but there was no like online component that people would readily connect to. Is the game was designed in such a way that like you get all these clues in like 7 different languages, and you have all this weird stuff that doesn't exactly make any sense. And if you were to figure this out like on your own, you'd have to be some sort of like crazy super savant, because there's like obscure stuff from everywhere. And Kojima's intention when making this thing was that he wanted people to use their sort of collective brain power to figure out the puzzle and mystery behind everything. I think it was like within a week, maybe less.
Something like that.
There was enough people that put it all together and solved the whole thing super quickly. He wasn't expecting it to be done that fast, but that was his intention. But that is cool because the collective computing mind of video game players all over the world did that within, I mean, a crazy amount of time. And I think that's so cool that we literally have the ultimate brain on the planet, and it's the internet, because it has all the data we could ever want, but we can actively input all the data and assess it as much as we could ever ask for. And that's crazy. The cumulative knowledge of all the people in the world that can, just contribute is insane. And for people to figure that whole thing out was nuts. I love it. I love it. My cats are attacking each other.
Things happen.
It does. It's currently happening. Okay. Well, I'm trying to think what else there is to talk about.
More he said on there?
The ban on games in China. So that was lifted. I didn't really read a whole lot into it, but for a long time, China actually was, well, you couldn't buy video game consoles there. And I'm not sure like what their whole stand. Actually, Radon might know way more about that than I did, but I didn't really.
We can bring that back up with Radon next time he's on.
Because I sort of knew about it, but I never really paid attention because I don't live in China, and I'm so ethnocentric that I don't care what happens there unless they're exporting delicious food straight into my mouth.
What are we streaming this on, by the way? Is this Google Hangouts?
Yeah.
Just have your buddy Joel join our Google Hangouts.
You do that. Let's see. Really debating upgrading to the new Nintendo 3DS XL versus my current 3DS. Is this a good move? I probably will anyway, though. Okay, Michael Camacho asks this, and it's a great question. Because do you upgrade or do you not? Depends what you want out of life. So the upgrade itself is not as essential from like a normal 3DS to like the new XL. You're getting an extra analog stick. You're getting 2 extra buttons. You are getting built-in NFC compatibility, which is nice for your amiibos. As well as it is a faster system. It is a more powerful system. So there will be exclusive games down the line. I don't think it's going to be a ton because that market divide is tricky, but they're going to be there. It loads games faster.
The 3D is better.
The 3D is significantly better. It makes everybody want to use it unless it truly hurts your head super bad. But there's the sweet spot trick is just, it's amazing.
Yeah, a huge appeal for me is actually the micro SD card too.
Micro SD, it's nice. It's a very cleanly put together system. The battery life is great. There's a lot of perks to it. It downloads faster. Like it downloads stuff at I think almost double the speed. So there's just a lot of good stuff to it. It's not a mandatory upgrade, but it's definitely like a, does my Lexus really need, a quad disc changer?
Yeah. My personal opinion on it is if you're not a huge fan of the 3D to begin with, which I'm not, I think it's neat. I don't use it very often. And you're not going to be playing something like Smash Bros or whatever, where you need the extra bumper or anything. Just play through the old library, and then once you get through any DS or 3DS games that are out already that you want to get through, once you get through all of that, go ahead and upgrade because there'll probably be more titles for it. That's my general review.
That's true. Yeah, that's fair.
Because right now I'm playing through a ton of old DS like Mega Man games.
That.
I mean, I did upgrade, but that was a whole other. It's for other reasons. I had like some extra money laying around, but if I had not, I would have just continued hanging on and just got one eventually.
Yeah, I really dig it. It just the analog nub helps a ton. There's only a handful of games that do use it, but any of the old games that use the Circle Pad Pro utilize it. So Metal Gear.
Just about to ask is Kid Icarus?
Kid Icarus does, but I mean it's less pertinent because like it acts as like just an analog stick on the other side in case you're left-handed.
Yeah. So I remember somebody.
Kingdom Hearts.
The Circle Pad, the Kingdom Hearts game that came out, someone said that game was almost unplayable without the Circle Pad Pro. So, like, if you were waiting to play that game and never picked up the Circle Pad, go back, grab that.
That helps tremendously. Yeah, like Metal Gear, a handful of, like, first-person shooters in the system will do it. Like, I think Moon Chronicles uses it. So some downloadable titles. But, It feels great. Majora's Mask especially. Xenoblade Chronicles, of course, has to because it's on that system exclusively. Binding of Isaac 3D just came out, and that there's going to be a handful of downloadable titles that are exclusive to the new 3DS XL as well. I'm not sure actually. Besides the Binding of Isaac,
it's big tongues to me, sir.
I only speak in tongues.
That's not true.
No, it is.
No,
I'm using my tongue right now.
Yeah, but that's not multiple tongues.
Yeah, it is too.
That's one tongue.
Mine just looks like one.
No, it's one tongue.
No, there's 2 layers.
That's not true.
What do you mean it's not true? Look.
That's one tongue.
Well, the other one's underneath it. Layers.
That's not how layers. A top and a bottom is not a layer. That's just the same thing.
Wait a second. The top and the bottom is not a layer.
It depends on what it is. Oh, like a sandwich, top and bottom is a layer.
Yeah, or Photoshop.
Top and bottom of a hand is not layers. It's just the top of the hand.
No. Yeah, there's like 2.
This, if you did top and bottom, is a layer.
Right. Yeah. I've got that.
This.
I'm not saying like the top and. No,
you're saying you have 2 tongues on top of each other.
Yes.
I don't believe it.
That's not my problem.
Kind of is.
So, in what way? No. Okay.
In what way? Don't know. Okay, look, me, sir.
So my tongue is the second tongue is small. The bottom tongue is really tiny.
John, every time you do this, and you start a conversation, with a no okay look or a hold on, or anything that's like 3 of anything, it means you've got nothing.
No.
It means you've got nothing to come at me with.
You're okay. You're trying to strong arm me.
No, it means that you're gearing up. You need that extra 3 seconds to just throw some shit together to just fire my way. I've been in 1,000 of these arguments with you, John. Listen.
Big tongue,
smaller
tongue. 2 tongues, 2 layers. Food can go in between them. I can taste it, but I can't it still has to go on the top layer to actually go down the gullet.
That's terribly unhygienic. You would be dead.
No. I brush and I use the mouthwash.
No.
I do. I mean, not no. I do.
I don't believe you, John.
Then how come I'm not dead? Hygiene.
Yeah. You're not dead because you don't have 2 tongues.
This guy. 2 layers. It's an equal sign. So my tongues look. One of them is too small.
Is it considered layers if it's just a dash and then nothing in between it and then another dash?
Well, there's air in between it. It's like an air Oreo.
Does air count as a layer?
Well, I mean, it's between the layers.
I mean, I guess it could be a layer.
A layer of air?
A layer of air.
Would that be 3 layers then? Because you have top layer, air layer, bottom layer.
Arguably 4 layers. Because they're air layer, next layer.
Check this out.
Air layer.
I have an air layer, a tongue layer, and then an air layer below that. 3 layers.
That I'm fine with. That's a fair.
Oh, yeah. That was easy.
That was easy.
Science wins, baby.
Air layer, tongue layer, air layer is fine.
Science wins. All I'm saying, science wins.
But is the air layer really 2 different layers, or is it just 1 layer? Because it's all 1 chunk of air.
Don't do this to me. Even if that were the case, there's the air layer and the tongue layer, so it's 2 layers. Minimum.
I don't know, because it's still just the outer layer is still just air.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's air, tongue. And we can just classify it as...
That's, 2 layers. I'm just saying, is it really count as air, tongue, air? Or would it just be air?
It might just be air, tongue.
I think it's just air, tongue.
So it's a minimum of 2 layers.
2 layers is fine.
Cool.
Don't do this.
All right, that was a good argument.
It was a discussion.
Right. Well, that's true. That's true.
Friendly.
That's true. That's what you and I do as friends. We have a lot of arguments.
Yeah, we do. And none of them make any sense.
No. And none of them are hostile.
Zangief's judging us again.
Zangief? Oh, he's giving me that eye.
He is.
Oh, that's rough.
Mm-hmm. Enjoy that, internet. Knowing what we're looking at.
No, just Zangief.
It is just Zangief.
It's just Zangief. He's just doing his thing. His little red Russian panties. I don't think I approve of Zangief wearing anything other than red Russian panties. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. That's right. Street Fighter, the movie callback, internet.
It's making a comeback.
I'm sorry I yelled at you, internet.
That's okay. The internet's fine.
The internet's fine.
Yeah. So, I think we're getting ready to wrap up here pretty soon.
Are we?
Yeah.
Are we? Arwing.
Arwing?
Arwing.
That's what Star Fox flies.
Nope.
Oh, never mind. He doesn't do that.
He drives a space plane.
Oh, I really want the new Star Fox. Before we go, we're going to talk about something.
Is Airplane 2 the story?
We're going to talk about the Airplane 2. There's the segue of how Airplane 2 and Star Fox are connected in the same universe. Okay?
I don't want that to be a thing.
No.
Actually, I do.
I do too, very badly. And I want Robert Stack to play General Pepper.
Who would Leslie Nielsen be?
Peppy. No.
He might be Peppy. He gives the whole speech about the zipper.
True. I do love Leslie Nielsen.
Okay. Oh my god, who's the other?
Lloyd Bridges.
Lloyd Bridges as any one of them.
As any character. As Falco.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, our perfect casting and most of all of them are dead.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, all my favorite actors from Airplane are gone.
No, except the main guy.
Oh yeah, Ted Stryker. I can't remember his name. Robert something. Anyway, what I did want to talk about, and this is big for me. So I've been on a Metroid kick recently. Went through Other M, which I know a lot of people totally didn't like, and that people didn't like it. They didn't like the story. They didn't like the presentation. Blah blah blah. That's fine. Went through Zero Mission. I went through Metroid Prime. I went through Metroid Fusion, all fairly recently because Juanita hadn't seen like any of those. She kind of play them, but she didn't see them like enough, and she wanted to know more about them. So we went and played through all those. And after we finished Metroid Other M, she goes, "Why didn't people like this game?" And I said, "It's a very good question, and it came down to two factors. Okay, people did not like the story presentation of a character they had perceived to be a certain way. Now, I attribute a lot of that to limited storytelling from the earlier games, but then in Metroid Prime, admittedly, she was not as robust a character in terms of like personality. It was very much you're Samus, and the mystery is just, you know, within her observations. Like you'd be on, you know, Planet Talon or whatever, and you'd look at something and Samus would go, "Oh, that's vegetation from this and this and this," or "That creature is this and this and this," and that was like even just data from her helmet, but she's taking it in. So you don't really get to know much about her. Just you're
just the world.
It's all itself. Avatar. It's not objective in any way.
So in the prior games, as someone who's never really played them, did they develop her backstory at all, or was it just kind of like implied events that happened?
So there are events that they discuss, but like they're not told very in depth. And I'll tell you sort of like the biggest point of contention that people had was that Samus in this new one, she had more of a personality. She was maybe a bit more rebellious or reactive to things, whereas in other games people view her as being very stoic and very quiet and very much just lone wolf, right? Lone wolf bounty hunter.
Other games, Super Nintendo
and
like Game Boy games.
And so like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, she had a little bit of dialogue in the SNES one. I mean, literally 4 lines at like the beginning of the game, basically. In Metroid Prime, they kind of gave her that, but they never established her as like a character who responds or reacts to anything because something happens and she just kills it. Like it's essentially right. And so that's fair. People
She's just a Terminator.
She's essentially the female cyborg. That just she dons her Chozo power suit and she kills whatever she got to do. She takes care of business, but
kills whatever she got to do.
Right? Yeah, she kills her objectives. And in Other M, they have her responding to a commander. You land on this space station, and the commander gives you a bunch of orders and says, "Well, if we're going to do things, we're going to do things my way," and that includes locking a bunch of her abilities until he gives her authorization to do so. That's the vehicle that they use for unlocking weapons and abilities throughout the game, which think of it as a gameplay mechanic. In Metroid Prime, she gets them all knocked off her body and has to go collect them on the planet below. And maybe it's kind of silly, but it's a mechanic that says, here's how you regrow your character.
Yeah.
So in Other M, you regrow your character by following the objectives, and you're now authorized to use your ice beam to kill this enemy. Okay, cool. Oh, you're now authorized to use missiles to open these doors. Okay, cool. And they present it in a way that it doesn't necessarily make sense in some regards, because at one point you're actually running through a bunch of hot lava and your suit isn't capable of withstanding, and your commander says, okay, now you can turn on your Varia suit for protection. Okay, that's kind of weird. But like, whatever. In my eyes, it's a video game. That's the mechanic that they used. Right on. I'm cool. But they have a sequence in the game where you end up encountering Ridley, and Samus starts freaking out. She looks at this creature that she's destroyed before, and it's standing in front of her, huge and menacing. And she like suddenly like had like this weird flashback of being a little girl, because I think her parents were killed by Ridley. I don't actually remember what the story was.
As far as I understand, that's what it is. Yeah.
Okay, and so she looks at this and she starts freaking out, and then suddenly she like shakes out of it. She gets her gun out and she blows the shit out of this thing, and then boom, the game keeps going. Okay, and you're communicating with the Federation this entire time, and like things are happening story wise. And the Federation is, something that they don't really talk about, but this is the game where they finally give them a couple faces and some backstory. And it's kind of like, oh, okay, well, now the Metroid universe is slightly more fleshed out. It's not just Samus. These are the people that she interacted with at one point. These are people she's interacting with now. And okay, so the Metroid universe now has a little bit more. People really didn't like that. So because what people do, and same reason they don't like the new Ninja Turtles design, same reason they don't like, maybe Batman's costume, whatever, in like the new movie, because they've taken ownership of something that existed at one point and said that's the standard by which this has to be forever. They can't allow it to grow. They can't allow it to evolve. They can't allow it to develop, because Batman, he can't kill people because Batman doesn't kill people. I'll tell you what, in the new Batman game, Batman kills people, because like you run over a thug with a car, it doesn't matter if you just knocked him out with electricity, he's going to die. You hit him with a car going 80 miles an hour. You punch a thug's neck. Given statistically the amount of people that Batman destroys in that game by cracking their necks and hitting them with bats.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying there, but there's also the flip side of that, which is, since you're using Batman, I'll use Superman.
Sure.
Superman is not necessarily just a character of like Clark Kent and Superman.
Yeah.
A big part of his character is his morals and his ideals.
Sure.
And changing those, even if it makes it a slightly better story, changes the character itself.
It does.
Batman can kill a guy.
Right.
And even Superman, to a degree, has killed people in the past.
Right.
But, and this is something I was talking about with a friend earlier, is people keep saying you can't make a good Superman movie. Like, you just can't do it because no one wants to watch a movie about the guy with the biggest power is the biggest thing. But the problem is, so they keep making different Superman movies that are all terrible because they're trying to show you what they think you want to see. Like the last Man of Steel. Oh my god! And again, spoilers. If anyone hasn't seen that movie from fucking forever ago.
Yeah.
He kills people. It's weirdly dark the whole movie, and the entire point of Superman is supposed to be that even though he's this unstoppable alien badass, he doesn't do all those things because he was raised by two people from Kansas, two good people. But the people miss out on that because they're like, hey, let's throw this other thing in there that's going to be really interesting.
Right.
To the same extent, it's like that with a lot of video games.
Sure.
They're like, we're going to throw this new thing in there, but they leave the core of that character behind.
Sure.
Is what I think a lot of people are afraid of.
Yeah.
Is that you're going to lose that core character.
Yeah.
And they're going to be this other guy who's got the same name, but has nothing to do with the entire rest of the franchise.
Well,
that was a long way to get there. I
sure.
apologize.
No worries. So with the Batman thing, I'm not saying like he becomes like a mass murderer, but like his actions are going to have more consequences than the ones did in the past. He's not going to go out on a killing spree just because, he can run over dudes with his car and presumably shock them into submission every single time.
Yeah.
But his actions are going to cause people to die more so than before. And so there's like, or the new Ninja Turtles, they look different. Well, they're not supposed to look like that because this is how I remember them. Therefore, I don't like the new design. And people have, it's an ownership of something that has been established once. And yeah, you don't want to change the core fundamentals of a character, but there has to be like an evolution of something that allows them to become interesting without,
That's true. Again, this is what we were talking about in the shop the other day.
Sure.
Like a perfect example being the whole Wonder Woman thing. Like whoever the chick is that casts as Wonder Woman, when you look at just her, you can't see it. Really. At least I can't. I don't see it. I'm not saying anything bad about her. I'm saying it's just she doesn't look like Wonder Woman to me. Like if I close my eyes and someone says that that's Wonder Woman, I get nothing. Same thing we were saying, like Ryan Reynolds. You heard that he was cast as Hercules.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't.
I just be like, I don't understand that.
Without even knowing anything about the movie, you hear that The Rock is playing Hercules. You're like, yeah, of course.
Right.
And that's the thing that a lot of the video games and stuff like that are missing because, here's Metroid and here's Samus and she's doing all this. And suddenly she's afraid and everyone's like, wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because no, she's not.
Right.
And they don't even care about why. They go, no,
Yeah.
That's not how she would do that. And
yeah.
It's like, yeah, but there's a reason. They won't let you get to the reason.
I didn't think she was going to do that, therefore she can't do it.
Yeah. So their brains immediately shut down as soon as they hear that thing. It goes, nope.
Right.
So it doesn't matter if it makes perfect sense or anything like that. It's just, as soon as they get to that point, their brain just, nope.
Yeah, that's just not going to work. And it was partially established from some old comics that Samus was in that were, written by Nintendo and some guys Nintendo worked with. So like there's elements to the story that flesh it out to where Metroid Other M story actually works well. And so people don't want that still because, well, I envision Samus as this, therefore if she's anything but, I don't like it.
Other M part of the main storyline, or is it like an offshoot?
Yeah, it's actually a direct sequel to like Super Metroid.
Okay, so she fought Ridley before this point?
Twice, actually. Yeah.
Okay. Well, again, you also have to take into the context of the games itself.
That's right. Yeah.
Super Nintendo, you can't really show someone emoting.
And that was sort of my thought as well, too. Like, yeah, it was limited technology when, these things are happening. Literally, like, you don't see Samus do anything other than get naked at the end of the game when you beat it in a certain time. Like, but yeah, she can't react to things because the games weren't capable.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem. Like, every one of those boss fights in those games has a delay before it starts. Because I just started playing Super Metroid. Every single one of those fights, there is a delay.
Right.
There's no difference. It's just now you can see what that delay is if you want to imagine.
Sure. Yeah.
You have to allow for the technology to grow.
That's sort of what I thought. I said, maybe it might not make as much sense in some regards, but at the same time, killing something and having it come back might kind of freak you out.
Yeah.
Even
killing
a couple times.
Twice, and then it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and then it shows up 3 times bigger, and you're like, oh god.
How are you still not dead?
Sure. And so I found a way to justify it, but whatever the case is, I loved the game. I think it was a lot of fun. But one of the biggest points of contention that actually came out of E3 this year was Metroid Federation Force. People are still so upset over what happened with Metroid Other M, despite the fact that as a gameplay game, if you ignore story completely, which it's easy to do in Metroid games because there's not a lot to any of the previous ones, as a gameplay game, it's fantastic. It's fun, it's fast-paced, it's responsive, it's just a good game to play. Story issues aside, and I'll allow that, it's just a fun game to play. So when they announced Metroid Federation Force, it's not a game about Samus. It's a game about the Federation.
Yeah.
And the visual style is a lot more like, like Tonka truck kind of, a little more cartoony and not quite as like serious, but still cool looking, just in a different way. But it's a way people didn't decide. And art style, I can't speak for, taste, because that's just...
Part of my question for that, though.
Sure.
Are they wearing suits in Federation Force?
Yes. Federation Force, all the guys have like a specific style of suit that they wear to indicate they're part of the Federation. So this Federation Force is 4 different Federation members with different colored like helmets that are working together. And because they wanted to make it like a co-op game to expand the universe, you can't have 4 Samuses because that would drive people into an even bigger nutsy rage, right? Yeah. So you have 4 Federation Force members running around, co-oping missions together, and people are livid. People are trying to sign a petition. They haven't even touched this game, and they haven't even played it, and they already don't like its existence because they want a different Metroid. I want a new Metroid too, but I also have zero problem with the idea of getting a brand new game with a fleshed out universe with more characters that I can play with my friends and see Samus completely objectively from the side of the Federation. Yeah. Because, and I won't tell you too much about it, but getting the perspective of the Federation in the Metroid universe opens up a lot of really cool story doors. And I think this could really elaborate on that.
Which is something that, as I understand, the Metroid universe needs.
Yeah, because it's not a story-heavy series at all. The story's there, there's a lore, there's a timeline, but it's very loosely described, and it's very, sort of casually done, and it's cool. What's there is interesting, but it's mostly speculation based off the little information that we have. And the idea of getting the perspective of Federation is just, it's totally different because the game doesn't do that. It only really ever went into that once in Other M, and it left a lot of, that would be cool if. Yeah. And now this game could very well explore that.
My main question about the suit, sorry, I'm going
sure.
video game player.
Yeah, you're good.
For a second.
You're good.
Do they all have like the rolly ball ability and stuff like that? Because isn't that supposed to be unique to Samus?
That sounds it. To my knowledge, they're not going to have that. To my knowledge, they're going to have like small jetpacks and guns and go around killing things like that.
Because if there's a dude with a jetpack, there's a dude with like a grappling hook, like stuff like that, that's really appealing to me.
Sure.
I guess 4 swords-ish.
Yeah, everybody's got their own. And that's essentially
got their own kind of ability. And I'll play the hell out of that.
Oh, me too, man.
If it's just 4 Samuses, I'm like...
That's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's... a big part of it. That would piss people off. I could see that.
Absolutely.
That's a big part of
people lose their nuts a lot more is that she's an isolated warrior, and for 4 of them to be around, killing things, like this just isn't working. You know,
it's like it was because those abilities are supposed to be hers, as far as I understand.
Yeah,
and the Chozo or
the Chozo race, yes, other Chozos might have it as well too. Maybe they could do something with that.
Assuming you don't find any other Chozos that aren't just a fucking statue,
right?
I never find it.
Yeah.
Why does the statue every now and then get up and attack you? I don't.
A restless spirit within, I think, is sort of how they ended up describing it. That's what happens in Metroid Prime. Because every now and then Chozo ghosts, will come out and attack you. So, yeah.
Sorry, I just pictured someone asking like Iwata that question.
Yeah.
Ghosts.
Well, I think of a ghost.
Ghost.
And or Large Marge. Everybody says in unison, her ghost. But I think Federation Force is actually going to be really fun. I don't think it actually is taking away from a Metroid game in development. They weren't like, well, let's do a really large-scale Wii U product. And some guy was like, nah, let's just do this instead. That's not how these situations work.
If they're making a new Metroid, they're probably going to save it for the NX if they're already announced.
And that's sort of what Nintendo kind of alluded to. They said, we don't really have anything working for, Metroid right now for like the series proper, but maybe for the next system. But they didn't say anything directly. They just sort of hinted that could be the case.
Honestly, for the longest time now, at least you and I, well, no, I have, and to a lesser extent, I think you have, have been suspecting that Nintendo's kind of piling up like a list of titles and just banking on this next system and just letting the Wii U carry them for now.
Yeah,
and then the next system, they're just gonna
full on assault.
Yeah, because I mean, both the Xbox One and the PS4, they're doing okay, but they're not killing it by any means.
Yeah, PS4 I think was up to 20 million. Xbox One's a little bit behind, and we actually just hit 10 million. So it's not doing great, but I mean, 10 million, you could also be doing worse.
Yeah.
So we'll see where it ends up going. They're doing fine now. It's just it'd be nice to be doing better.
Release the NX. They're gonna price drop the Wii U, and then just pump out a bunch of generic ass family friendly titles for the Wii U.
Sure.
And then big title, the NX.
Yeah. Here's a new Mario at launch. Here's a new Metroid at launch.
I bet that Zelda's gonna be Wii U NX.
NX, yeah, probably. Yeah, I mean GameCube Wii style.
Yeah.
Sure.
I will bet almost anything that's what's going to happen. With that.
Right. And yeah, and I mean we'll see what they're going to do. I have no idea. It's going to be interesting also to see what kind of leadership role was it Takeda? I think he was an old programmer and I think researcher in their R&D department as well too. In fact, I think he even worked on one of the first original like electronic arcade games Nintendo ever did. So essentially, he's got a background experience similar to Iwata. Who knows if his personality is going to be is
that the new guy for sure?
That's what they're basically talking between him and Miyamoto right now as like simply representing. I don't think Miyamoto is going to be the face of Nintendo because I think they need him to continue doing development while they get somebody else out there.
Does he even want it?
Probably not, and I wouldn't blame him. It's kind of like
it's a lot.
Keiji Inafune, the guy who made Mega Man. He was doing a bunch of stuff before he ended up basically being upgraded to like the CEO of Capcom. And finally he was like, I can't do this anymore because it's not what I want to do in my position. I can't make the games I want to make and I'm just not happy. So he left Capcom. And heaven forbid something like that happened to Miyamoto because he goes, this isn't the position that I want.
Yeah.
I got to be doing my game thing. Somebody else needs to take the reins and do what Iwata's, actual job was. So, yeah.
Did you answer all those text message ones?
Let's see.
Before we shut
it down. Okay. So we have Adrian Ramirez says, John, please answer why are butts a thing for you? And he said, wrote Assholevania, Rondo of Butts.
Butts are funny.
Butts are funny. So you sit on them, so they're constantly like, they're covered by things. They're constantly just being pressed into the ground or chairs. They make fart noises. They poop. When you see somebody's butt crack, it's funny. Like if something gets caught in your butt cheeks, which I don't think really happens a lot, but if it does, that's funny.
Yeah.
It's a very vulnerable area. Something happens to your butt, that's funny. Like if it gets hurt or swatted, they're just really funny things. And I'm glad.
There's some very simple rules to comedy.
Yeah.
And one of them is butts are funny.
Butts are funny. Yeah. That's all there is to it. I love butts.
And then, there's no deeper, darker layer behind
and then
that.
He wrote Castlevania Rondo of Butts. I'm thinking like you could take a lot of video game names and turn them into butt-themed things, which is also, that's a lot of fun because, Super Butt Brothers or Legend of Butt or Butt Prime, Metroid Other Butt.
Bubble Bobble's got 2 ways you could go with it.
That's true. Yeah, exactly. Just seeing things open themselves up, Super Smash Butts, like
Butt Bound.
But I would play Butt Bound or Earth Butt. Yeah, Butt Con Country. Earth Butt is good.
Pretty much anything you look at, you can just put
Legend of Zelda Majora's Butt. Yeah, yeah, it's good. Or Majora's Ass if you want to.
Binary Butt.
Binary Butt.
Ashura's Butt.
Deadly Butts. Trauma
Butts
Butt.
Bad.
Yeah, Boom Butts.
Mad Butt. Butt World.
Yeah, Butt World. I would play
you can
that.
pretty much do that with anything.
And it's good. Yeah, it's good, clean family fun. The Elder Scrolls Butt.
Deadly Butts. Butt Creatures.
Butt Shock.
Yep. Epic Butt.
Beautiful Butt.
Boom Butt.
Ninja Butt. Or Butt Gaiden. Dino Butt 3.
Yep. Curb Butt.
Butt Generations.
Elder Butt Oblivion.
Red Butt Redemption. Yeah, infinity possibilities, because literally anything.
Butt Nukem.
And then I had one. Well, I don't really have a question. So this one, well, kind of comes from Daryl Ray, and she says, "My question is about the Fifth Element, so you can't help me." Ha ha.
I could probably help.
Well, she didn't ask the question.
Well, then screw you, Daryl Ray.
So,
there's 2 people involved in this podcast. How dare you?
Well,
just making assumptions.
Okay, I'm gonna watch it on Sunday. I've never seen this movie, everybody, and I know
kick his ass out of the room. I don't care.
Fair, but there's no question just yet. So,
just get all offended.
Okay,
How
yeah, exactly. The nerve.
The nerve.
Nico, the Wii guy, asks, and if you need a question more akin to the usual of the Cyber Zone, you've been watching the Summer Games Done Quick. And also, what would be a game you'd run if you're able to go to one? So, have you been watching those at all?
Just what's at the shop.
Okay. So, like, yesterday I had a bunch of Mega Man going on. I was watching Mega Man X3, Mega Man X4. They started doing Castlevania later in the evening. Today they did some Kirby. They were doing Sonic on the Game Gear. And I do love watching, like, these people that have genuinely mastered a game so well that, like, it's like a science. It's an art. Like, it's literally, it's second nature to them. It's like, I can do this with my finger because I know how to do that. And that's what these people do with video games.
Yeah.
Like, it's just reactive based on, I know exactly what's going on already. But if you had to choose one game that, like, you felt you had mastered, like, or, okay, say, choose a game that you feel you've mastered. Maybe choose a game that, like, you want to. Like, if assuming you were so great at this game, what game would you choose assuming you were a master at it?
Mike Tyson's Punch-Out would be the one I'd want to.
That'd be okay. That's your dream mastery,
or even to a lesser extent, the Wii Punch-Out.
That one's even more fun.
It is more fun.
I love classic Punch-Out.
See, the problem is I don't know if I'd want to speed run it as much as just because there's all those challenge modes in it.
So then, 100% run, doing every one of those challenges.
That would be fun.
That would be fun. That'd actually be a really cool.
I actually want to do that.
I would love Summer Games Done Quick to see that whole thing happen. That's hard, man.
That's a long match, dude.
Yeah. At least you might have to do it like several times. You have to fight Glass Joe 2 or 3 times to get all 3 of them. Punch-Out would be a ton of fun. Punch-Out 100% run for the Wii would be fantastic. I would watch the crap out of that.
It takes so long.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
would. Yeah.
I'll start training.
We should start training after this.
But I still haven't knocked Glass Joe's helmet off.
That one, it's
the second
title bout is surprisingly awful.
Yeah, it's
like it's great, but it's so
Glass
hard.
Joe knocks you down.
No, I know. Like I remember
ridiculous.
Beating Super Macho Man, or not Super Macho, Mr. Sandman, and thinking I've done it. And then you fight Glass Joe, and you're like, why is Glass Joe killing me even after I beat the Sandman?
Yeah.
And he just because he's better now.
Yeah.
And it's great.
Training.
It's great. I want to say F-Zero GX is what I would choose because I was really good at the game and I'm still good at just playing it. I don't know if I could. I don't have it mastered at this point because especially doing all like the extra like hard stuff, I beat on luck. So I have 100% of that game, but a lot of it was due to the fact that like I was playing at some point and like on extra hard mode, my opponent fell off the track and died. So I just went really slowly to the end to make sure I didn't lose. Because some of those literally took me months to get. Some of the levels were so hard. But I used to be an ace at like Donkey Kong Country.
I was gonna say I've seen you and Juanita try and speed or point run Donkey Kong Country.
Donkey Kong Country or like Mega Man 9. I used to like actually I was like 30th in the world for a bit, because like people eventually get way better than me. But for a while, I was like 26 or 27 minutes, and I think now at this point it's sub 20, so not even close for me. But that's one that I felt really competent at for a long time, and I could probably still do if I had like enough practice. Or like Mario 2, 3, or World, I can do pretty quickly. Platformers are pretty much like what I would have to choose. Mm-hmm. So the ones that I feel like I'm most competent at.
Do a Subspace Emissary speed run.
That's long. That is long. Subspace is a really long campaign. I like it. I like the Subspace.
Again, if anyone ever watches this and has not played the Subspace Emissary, mm-hmm. It's worth it.
It's just worth doing.
I know fun. A lot of people hate on Brawl, but the Subspace Emissary was solid.
It was a good time.
100% of the way through.
Yep.
And it had a good sense of humor to it.
Mm-hmm.
They built up Snake in that stupid little box for so long.
Yeah.
Someone have something to say?
Yep. Nico poses another question. Something that's been on my mind is how underrated the Game Boy library is. Literally, most people can probably name only 20 out of 30 of the standard well-known titles. Or 22, 30. Not 20 out of the 30 because there's way more than that.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked, do you think the Game Boy games are not talked about just as much because they're portable? It's interesting because there's so many good games in the Game Boy. Did you ever have one growing up?
I had a Game Boy Pocket.
Okay, so essentially, you still have the Game Boy library. What were some of the games that you were into?
Honestly, the only one I remember us having was the yellow Pokemon.
Pokemon Yellow, okay. Because the Game Boy library has a lot of really, really good stuff. Game Boy in general, Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, the whole package. But it is not talked about as frequently, actually, like Nico points out. And I'm wondering if it's because the fidelity isn't so much from like a presentation standpoint. It's an experiential standpoint, but like a lot of games that I played, like that I had experiences with, were big screen. Or I had friends hanging out with me, like games I could experience in like a slightly social manner. And because a Game Boy is not as social of a system, other than say Pokemon, it was a lot harder to be like, dude, Mario Land was great.
See, that's great. What I would say it was because, again, I had brothers, and I had a brother who was within the same couple years difference and everything. And my mom like ran a daycare when I was a kid, so there was always a ton of children around.
Yeah.
So if you were playing a game that everyone else didn't play, you kind of just missed out.
Right.
Like you weren't part of the group.
Yeah.
So all those one-player games either had to be saved for when you were by yourself and bored, or they just never really got played.
Sure.
So a lot of those big titles that like you guys all played never really made huge impacts with me and my family. My older brother, because he had 6 years before I came along, he played a ton of the Super Nintendo. He played a ton of everything by himself. He could probably name a ton of those titles.
Yeah.
For me, Pokemon Yellow is what I had.
Pokemon Yellow. Okay. Yeah. And I'm wondering like what it comes down to for like the world market, because the Game Boy sold a lot. Like there's a lot of Game Boys out there. So why, when people are citing best games of all time, do Game Boy games not get brought up in lists as much? It's very rare that you'd have somebody that goes, dude, Wario Land was like, it. Because most people say, well, is the Super Nintendo Essentials, the Nintendo Essentials, and the Genesis Essentials, and, platform. But very few of them ever come down to, holy crap, my experience playing Jeez, I'm trying to think. I mean, because there's a lot out there, but for some reason they just don't come up.
The other part of the problem, I think, is again because of the brothers and all that, was just a price issue. We each got the Pokemon Game Boy Pocket.
Sure.
We each got a copy of Game Boy Yellow, so that we wouldn't fight.
Right.
And then that was pretty much the only game we got because, just a price issue. Going out and buying more and more games was just not really an option we had.
Sure.
So I feel like, the Game Boy sold like crazy. But for a lot of the games, most of my friends didn't really have more than one or two of the games.
Okay.
Because it was just like the money area that we lived in was like, here's your game. This is your game. This is what you get.
Right. But it's interesting because also like the more you mention that as well too, I think it's that people have a perception of what a console gaming experience is like versus a handheld gaming experience. Where even though Double Dragon might be a game that you could theoretically beat fairly quickly if you knew what you were doing and go through it with a buddy or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a console experience. Whereas Game Boy games were marketed and felt more like a bite-sized experience, even if they offered like the same kind of thing. There's just a perception about them, which is Mario Land 2 was very much like Mario World. Didn't have as many levels, and maybe that's part of it. but it was the same sort of general, I'm playing a Mario game with multiple paths and different items. So why does it not register the same way? And maybe just because it just feels like, it's simply a portable experience, but there was Final Fantasies, there was Pokemon, there were big games that lasted hundreds of hours. And I guess you still get people talking about, those, but you don't have people coming in talking about Final Fantasy Legend or talking about, Final Fantasy Adventure or many of the RPGs. Most people will cite Pokemon as their big ones, the Marios, or console ports, so like DuckTales or, Darkwing Duck or the Mega Mans, stuff like that. They're almost like a secondary kind of experience that you got simply because, if you don't have the console version, this is the next best thing rather than this is the defining edition.
Yeah, that's fair. And there was a bit of frustration with the Game Boy and everything as well, just because, now you got your 3DS, you can just close it mid-match and
it
doesn't matter what you're doing. But with the Game Boy,
if
you were like waiting in line and playing a game, then you're like, like if it came to your time to go do whatever you were doing, you're like, fuck, I guess I just lost all my progress.
Yeah, you really have to be picky about how you experience the game.
So it wasn't, again, a lot of it came down to when you were by yourself, you could just sit down and play this game. But if you're doing that, why wouldn't you just do it on the Super Nintendo?
And that's fair. I think a lot of people probably did that. At night when I was going to bed, that's when I definitely played the most Game Boy, because it was
that's fair. I keep inching off of camera, everybody. I apologize. But of course, I did have that thing that let you play your Game Boy Pokemon games on the 64.
Oh, the transfer pack,
which was pretty sweet.
Yeah,
that was actually upscaled pretty well.
Yeah, it looked good. They did a good job with that.
I think that's all I got.
That's it. That's the end. Just the end of the conversation.
Just gonna break this.
But actually, we're getting ready to sort of close up shop for the night. We've been doing this for a couple hours. It's been good.
Maybe go to Village Inn.
Maybe go to Village Inn, play some Smash Brothers on the DS or something. I don't know. However, I want to thank you guys for joining us this evening and asking some questions. Sorry we didn't get to the questions until way later. The question tab just wasn't open, and I wasn't even really paying attention. So, once again, thanks for watching, and I'm really excited to be back into getting into the Cyber Zone as a weekly kind of thing. We'll probably have like a handful of hosts in case one of us can't make it. And that's
I'm trying to go left to right, and I can't.
Again, nonetheless, I'd have to practice. I can't even. Nope, I cannot.
I was bored a lot as a kid.
I can't. I gotta. I want to try.
Podcast or just eyebrow tricks,
right? So, we'll be getting into having a couple different hosts. So, like, if I can't make it, Radon and Graham can do something together, or if neither of us can make it, Radon and Frankie or somebody. So we'll have a content, or we got other guests. We've got our buddies from AMcast, because I want you guys to know right now, AMcast, Morgan and Adrian are two of the finest gentlemen on the planet. What they have actually done for us, in addition to hosting a podcast that you should absolutely watch, I think ScrewTheTruth.com or AMcast.com. I'm not sure. I think ScrewTheTruth.com is where everything was going before. Whatever the case, they run their own podcast, which you totally watch, and they're super great and they're super fun. But they also recently did the most gracious thing ever, which is to rip all the audio from every single one of our previous podcasts and put it online for access, so you can optimize your very own experience in life, which is ideally what all of us as people are going for. Anyway, go check them out, ScrewTheTruth.com, and look up AMcast, because it's worth it. And they're our buddies, and I love both of them dearly. But we'll be integrating a lot more into podcasts to ensure that we actually have a pretty consistent show at this point, because it was super difficult for Radon and I to get ourselves together weekly, because our schedules have been crazy. My work life has been absolutely nuts this whole year, and it's very frustrating, which actually I'll go into later, because a lot of stuff has come up and I'm kind of at my wit's end with certain things. Don't worry about it. We'll figure something out, but I'll explain more next podcast. So let's go ahead and wrap up for the night, and I want to thank you for joining me this evening. See, look at that. Look at that.
You broke me. You bastard.
All right. Thank you for everybody who wrote into questions, and thank you everybody who texted me questions, even some that I can't answer because I haven't seen or experienced things in question.
Check that out. 3 viewers. Dude,
we're moving up.
New record.
Yeah, I know. It's unprecedented. 3 people.
Oh.
Well, never mind.
I appreciate that joke.
Yeah. All right. So thank you guys. Have a good night, and we will talk to you soon from the Cyber Zone.